Hey, it's 6:04 here in the region. You're listening to some smooth jazz here on WJOB, 12:30 a.m. Man, we got to. I know we can't play. We got to play something upbeat, man. You got to get the people going. You got to get the blood flowing. You know.
It was upbeat lo-fi. That's what it was.
Upbeat lo-fi. Yeah. Oh, you got to turn him up too.
I did.
Turn him up some more.
He must not be on.
He's on. Are you on 2?
I don't have a number.
What? You're on pink.
I'm on pink.
He's on pink. Okay, just turn everything up. And then he's on pink, and I'm on 2.
Talk for me, Bob.
Talk, Bob.
Good morning, everyone.
There you go. You got
there
it.
we go. Oh, I hear myself.
I still have genuinely no idea what mic he's on, though.
That's okay. Don't worry about it.
They're probably not. We need to color code everything.
I think so. Okay, I think you're on 1.
Okay. I thought he was on. He's supposed to be on 3, but whatever. He's working. We're working. I hear you, Joe. It's Summer of Chuck 2, the Electric Boogaloo, here on WJOB. We're going to go straight into traffic and weather. Traffic, not much to talk about. Everything looking good here in the region. Everything looking good out on the toll roads. Everything looking good if you're heading towards the airports, everything like that. You got a little building traffic already on the Dan Ryan because of some stuff going on further up north. Other than that, things are looking good. Obviously, if you see anything, you know the number, 219-845-1100. And, Joe, how's the weather?
All right, good morning, people. Okay, so for the weather today, we are starting off the week with a little bit of rain and thunderstorms on Monday and Tuesday with highs of 86 and 84, and both days are going to be very humid. And then following the rest of the weekdays on Wednesday and Thursday, you're going to have matching 77. But one day is going to be more cloudy on Wednesday versus Thursday, which is going to be a little more humid and sunny. And then for the weekend, it's the last weekend of summer before college starts for you PNW students. And we're going to have a nice weekend with Friday with a high of 83, Saturday with a high of 82, and Sunday with a high of 78 with just a little bit of thunderstorm spots, in the morning. I'm still waking up, guys, and that's the weather for the week.
Fantastic, thank you.
What about the UVs? Do we know about the UVs?
How is the UV index? Are we in the yellow?
What's our UV numbers?
I mean, we got some highs over the weekend at 7. Thursday is going to be 8, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are going to be moderate with 4 and 3.
Well, I feel better, Chuck. I don't know about you.
The UVs are generally pretty consistent in my office.
They are.
I'm going to digress right out of the gate.
No.
Going straight to a digression.
Okay.
Straight to hater, Chuck.
Straight to hate. I said, go ahead, call me a hater. Okay, so I'm going to all of you guys drove here this morning, I assume. You didn't take the train or anything like that.
I couldn't.
You could not take the train. We'll talk about that later. You know what I always say, Bob? I sometimes I sit in traffic and I just think about things and I look at things. I make observations. I always say, when I'm sitting in traffic, Bob, I can always tell who doesn't pay for their own gas.
Oh, really?
Do you see where I'm going with it? So it's kind of like with you guys. You guys have town trucks, and I can always tell, especially here in the morning, I got all these guys screaming up the boulevard, getting to the mills, getting to, all the pickup truck mafia, as I call them. You can always tell who doesn't pay for their own gas because that's the guy who's weaving in and out of traffic, trying to. I mean, I always say, and no offense to you, if you're listening to me, it's like, is he talking about me? Probably, but I always say I have, when I see somebody speeding up to a stoplight, I always go, I wonder what that person thinks. I wonder what that person's internal monologue is when they're speeding around, weaving in and out of traffic to speed to a stoplight. I'm like, first off, you're probably not paying for your own gas. Second off, you probably are not a deep thinker. You're probably somebody, you're like a hamster on a wheel going, must go faster, and then slam on your brakes at a stoplight. Like it's just bizarre to sit there like I'm just kind of cruising in the right lane, just watching this play out. I mean, again, it happens here. It happens on the Dan Ryan. It happens everywhere I go. But it just sort of reminds me that there are people out there that kind of just like their internal monologue is just go, 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 stop, go, go, go. Like they're not chess players. They're just kind of like, this car left me a car length between him and the other car. That means I can fit there. And then I'm going to literally ride 3 inches from the bumper of the guy in front of me, and I'm going to slam on my brakes at a stoplight. And I just sit there in the right lane, listening to my Jimmy Buffett, chilling out, relaxing.
So
and just enjoying the show.
My question to you this morning, Chuck, that I know all of our tens of thousands of listeners are
millions around the
pondering right now. Well, worldwide. Who cut you off this morning, Chuck?
Everybody. And here's the thing. You know, Bob, with this new Ford I've got, I have this intelligent. A lot of us have this new intelligent, speed control, the cruise control. I literally, like even the other day I went down to Indiana Beach. I hit the button when I got on 65. Didn't have to touch anything once. Just sat there and listened to my podcast. It did all the work. I stayed 2 or 3 car lengths. That's the amazing thing about this intelligent drive system. Is it maintains a safe driving distance. So like when you're on the Dan Ryan, me maintaining a safe driving distance means that they think 3 more cars can fit in between me and the person in front of me, right?
Right.
So that's the whole thing. You're like, oh, there's like 3 car lengths between, there's room for 3 more cars there. Like, no, that's the way a normal person is supposed to drive. That's why every day on the Dan Ryan, there's 5 and 6 car pileups because everybody hit each other because there's 10 cars in the space where 2 cars should be. And then they wonder why there's always fender. Like the same thing that happened to my car. The guy behind me decided to be 3 inches off my bumper. I had to stop. He hit me. He hit the guy. These are not chess players.
Why do you hate drivers from Illinois?
These guys are Indiana. That's the thing
really.
But again, here's the other thing to remember is if you're driving around like an idiot in your boss's truck with your logo and your phone number, like eventually it will catch up with you. Do you know what I mean? Like eventually if you're dring around with your
landscape companies do that all the time.
Well, usually, anybody. Yeah. These guys were HVAC. These guys were all kinds of things. Like your boss's phone number is on the side of your truck. Don't drive like an idiot. You know what I mean? Like I feel like sometimes I just randomly, like in traffic, I'm just gonna start calling and leaving voicemails. Like, hey, this guy's wasting your gas. Like I know he doesn't pay for the. I can tell by the way he's driving, he doesn't. And so my digression now goes to you as somebody in government. You can tell like how a person respects their job. Like I see these guys, they leave their truck running all day. I mean, everybody, they all do this. Like everybody municipal, they just leave their cars running all day. And I get it. They're like, hey, we're in a hurry. But then they also drive like idiots. It's like your town logo is on the side of the car. You're driving like an idiot through your town. Like eventually somebody will call town hall and go, hey, that idiot in the brown truck cut off like 3 cars, on Sheffield Avenue. Like eventually it will catch up to you. But since you're a first order thinker, like a hamster, go, stop, you don't think about that. You don't think about consequences to your actions. And I think that goes back to this is 2 things. This is what's wrong with Joe's generation, right off the bat.
Yeah, Joe.
And this is also why communism is doomed to fail. Right? I mean, right off the bat, I'm going to tell you, this is why communism doesn't work. When you get free gas, you drive like an idiot. Okay? So that's what I'm saying. This is why I know I was sitting in traffic today saying this is why communism doesn't work. This is why communism will not work. And that leads me into, we're going to talk about Trump and Putin and all that stuff. We're going to get into all that. There's Zelensky meetings and our media is we're trying to negotiate peace even though our media is doing its best to derail the peace talks. At this point, I literally over the weekend I was like, TMZ has written the best articles about these. Like TMZ did a better job, summarizing these peace talks than anybody else. I'm like, that's the world we're in. Is like TMZ is the only one writing fair and balanced articles about these peace talks. But again, I digress. So anyway, Bob Starkey's here.
We've covered everything.
We're good to go. And I asked Bob and Joe. I said, "What do you guys got today?" Like, you got nothing.
Yeah, nothing. We got the world here. I don't even have my my laptop with me. You know, that's my comfort between my fat belly and the camera.
Your weighted blanket. There.
Yeah.
We do have some WJOB.
Can I bring in?
I do want to tease this. I walked into. I was going through the WJOB mailbag, and I got.
We need a jingle for that. Mailbag.
Well, this is funny.
WJOB mailbag.
So here's what I'm gonna hold this up. You don't need to show it, Joe, but it says "Too dangerous to ignore," and there's a picture of Trump and RFK and JD Vance. I don't know how RFK. I guess I can flipping it over. I know why RFK is involved in this, but I'm gonna open. This is the boss's mail, so hopefully they don't. Committing a crime here on.
Oh, that is a crime.
I don't care. They can come. The post office police can come and get me because I'm opening somebody else's mail live.
I would love to see the post office.
Can you imagine that? Like there's probably a SWAT team. Okay, so. How are you this morning, Bob?
I couldn't be better. I am thrilled to be here with you. Yes, it's just a great day to be alive.
Great day in America. I talked to the boss last night. We were talking
how's the boss doing?
He's doing great. He actually gave us the best compliment I've heard from him in a while, which is like, you guys aren't doing a bad job. Including Joe. He said, Joe's doing it. He said, how's Joe doing? I said, Joe's doing great. He jumps in, says I'm a hater whenever I ask him to. And he keeps an eye on the phones and everything, keeps things going. And he said, Bob's doing a great job. He said, you guys are all doing a great job. He's like, can you take on 3 more days? I'm like, probably not. But maybe.
Maybe 2.
So we are going to I will have an announcement later today about the fall of Chuck 2.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah, are you? Okay.
I'm jazzed.
Yeah, you're jazzed about that? Smooth jazzed about that?
I am smooth jazzed
so
about
we will have we'll have an announcement later today we'll work, you and I will discuss it off the air, and then we'll announce it on the air.
Bob and I were talking about the fall of Chuck 2 and the graphics that you guys were possibly thinking about doing, and I said you should have one where it looks like you're like falling from the top of the screen. And then as the season,
Chuck as Hans Gruber,
as fall goes on, you just slowly lose your mind on air, and then it's a double entendre, maybe even a triple entendre.
I mean, we're at that point. It's 6:15. We're already at that point here on a Monday
morning. It was 6:15, and he's already called all municipal brown truck drivers communists. He has mocked the integrity of the postal SWAT team, and yeah.
I want to digress about the postal police because I actually had a run-in with them, and I was like, okay, never mind. You know what? That's another story for another day. Okay, so what do we want to? I wanted to kind of take a break, and then so we'll kind of chat. But yeah, so the boss called me last night. He said we're doing a great job, but I do want to thank you because you stepped up, and Joe, you stepped up as well.
I appreciate the opportunity. Jed often asks, he goes, did you get bit by the bug? And I'm still not sure what that means. I don't know what Joe does back there. He clicks a lot of buttons. I'd like to figure out what he does all the time back there and how it works. But I'm having a great time. And, I do know that, since you and I started this, that listenership has just gone through the roof.
It is at least doubled.
And our amazing sponsors should just be thrilled.
We probably need to make sure that we're mentioning them. We are in the Strack and Ventil Studios, Carpenter's $5.99 phone line, all that good stuff. Because, I mean, again, it takes a village to keep this train on the track. That's what I was talking to the boss about last night is how do we make things bigger and better. They're going into the football season, which is, a big time of year here in the region. There's going to be all kinds of stuff, all kinds of streams, football streams.
Well, it's big time here in the region. And I got to say, and I'm not blowing smoke here, sports is something that you see all these guys clamoring about all the time. That's going to be a big push, I think.
Be careful with that digression. See, and again,
am I not allowed to say?
No, you no. But
oh yeah, that's right. I'm sorry.
No, my son's actually playing for Lake somehow, and we're
Chuck's a sports hater too.
I'm gonna be on Thursday with Jed. I'm gonna do a pop in. We're gonna do like a whole little segment, but it's kind of funny how like when we first started streaming. Eons and eons ago here on the radio, and we developed it. We literally run the bleeding cutting edge of streaming. And then, so today now, my son is playing football for Lake Central. I don't know how. I don't know why. I saw his coach at Strax. I'm like, I don't know. We're not a sports family. You know this. Like, he knows nothing about. He's not the Pop Warner kid. He knows nothing about football. Like you got. Like I couldn't even tell him he's like a a nose lineman or something. Like, hey, you got to, I don't know. Like, I know the quarterback and then the receiving guy. I don't know anybody else. Like, he's playing defense. Like,
He's in the outfield.
He's in the outfield, you know. So I don't know nothing. He's
Chuck,
like,
I'll teach you for your
no.
sake.
I don't want to know, but he's been taught. So this is the whole thing. I don't want to know, but he's being taught by a good coach and by a good team of coaches and people. So I'm just staying out of the way. This is like one of those stay in your lane. Like if they said, hey, we want to talk to the football team about why communism won't work, I'm all in. If you like, and I told the coach, I said, look, I got nothing to add, but I'll show up, I'll cheer, I'll buy some popcorn and whatever. Like that's all I can do. Like I know nothing about football, but you know I'm proud of him for playing and sticking with it all summer. And it's a good excuse to keep your grades up too, because I'm like, look, man, you got to keep the grades up. You're gonna, you know, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just kind of funny because we started streaming. Our first stream was a Lake Central football game, and then here we are, decades later. My son's playing for Lake Central, so it's kind of neat. It's kind of neat to see how history is cyclical, as I always say. But so anything we want to tease anything before we get a break? Like what I want to get into the Trump stuff and do a cold clean segment, as the boss likes to say.
While we're talking about sports, I can elaborate a little more on what Jed was talking about on Wednesday with Tom. So next Saturday, August 30th, Jed TV Sports Network is making history with our first ever pregame show, Jed TV Saturday Night Kickoff, built by Central Midwest Carpenters. Live from Andrean High School, show starts at 3 p.m., leading into kickoff at 6 p.m. It will cover the Andrean 59ers versus Fort Wayne Bishop Loers, and it will have a pregame show as well as some festivities. The special guests will have Chick-fil-A promotion trailer, a field goal game, and a giant inflatable cow, as well as Sweet Frog and Kona Ice. They'll also have bounce houses and inflatable slides, dunk tanks featuring coaches and teachers, plus an on-campus network-style pregame show broadcast with live analysis, interviews, and all the energy of Friday Night Lights on a Saturday night. And you guys can watch this on the Jed TV app.
We're pre-gaming. That is neat.
Wow.
That is neat. I always said, you know what, the one thing I would do? I want them to invite me in the booth sometime. Joe, you wouldn't remember this. There was a period of time when Dennis Miller, who you probably don't, he's a comedian, he would join Monday Night Football. He just shook
his head. He's like, oh.
So this guy, if we get a chance, go find some clips of Dennis Miller on Monday Night Football. You can't play it here, but he was the third man in the booth, kind of like, you know, the original Monday Night Football with Cosell and all those guys. And he would basically, like in the middle of like a Browns game, he would just start ranting about conjunctions or something. Or like hyphenated names. It was the most bizarre thing ever, but it just worked somehow. And I'm like, we should try that. Just bring me in as a third man. I know nothing about football, and I'll just start ranting about, you know, hyphenated names or conjunctions or something in the spirit of Dennis Miller. I think it could work. Because I have nothing. Like I know the phrases. I know barn burner and all that stuff. Like, hey, it's a barn burner. That's all I got. Like I just every 10 minutes, like, hey, it's a barn burner. Even when it's not a barn burner, I would just say
it's a Cinderella story.
They just wanted it. They just wanted it more. I mean, that's all this. I know all the they just wanted it more. They left their heart out on the field. You know, all that. That's all. It's a boom goes the dynamite. I know all the phrases. I don't know what to do in between. Like you know.
I think that's a great idea. Actually.
No, I think it is. We should pitch that.
About that.
But yeah, no, I would just come in. We'd do the pregame show, and I would just come in and just rant about something in the middle, right in the right. There's like 8 seconds left. They're down by like whatever it is, 5, and I would just start ranting
bases
about
are loaded.
The bases are loaded. Man's on first, whatever, and I would just start ranting, about dressing rooms or something at Kohl's. I don't know. So there we go. So we filled a whole segment right there, right out of the gate. We ticked the box right there. So we are going to take a break, and I do want to come back. We'll start talking about real news.
Redistricting?
Oh, man. You want to talk about gerrymandering? I got some gerrymandering for you.
Let's
talk about gerrymandering. Let's talk about peace talks. Let's talk about all that stuff. We'll be back in, 3 minutes? We'll be back in 3 minutes here on the Summer of Chuck 2, the Electric Boogaloo on WJOB. 6:25 in the region. If I've not offended you yet this morning, don't worry. Stick around. There'll be time for that.
The morning is young.
The morning is young. I'll try to get to everybody. I'm equal opportunity. I'm an equal opportunity hater. You got phone calls? I don't know why, but
Already?
Okay. I hope they don't drive a pickup
It must
truck.
be that municipal worker in the brown truck who was trying to cut Chuck off earlier.
Want to take it?
Well, I guess. Let's take it. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes. Have you followed the Dexter Reed case in Chicago?
I have not. Tell me about it.
Well, Mr. Reed was stopped by a Chicago Police Department tactical unit. They were out making a traffic stop. He was one of 50. Apparently, all the other traffic stops went peacefully. But Mr. Reed decided to resist arrest. I watched the video on it repeatedly. He ended up shooting. The shooting started when he shot one of the cops. And the cops were out there yelling at him, roll down your window, get out of the car. And he refused. And he shot one of the cops. Then he got out of the vehicle. Now, fortunately, the Chicago City Council's Finance Committee, they declined to honor a $1 million settlement that the Reed family got. And there's another aspect to this, and that is public television. The local public television has a show called Democracy Now! Have you ever seen it or heard of it?
I've definitely heard of that, yeah.
Very left-wing.
Mm-hmm.
And they
as is
dealt
most
with
of NPR and PBS.
Yeah, right. But I would say that this is especially left-wing, unashamedly left-wing. And they talked about this Dexter Reed case at length, and they made Mr. Reed out to be an innocent victim. They never, in the course of the presentation, they never mentioned that Reed fired first and hit a policeman.
Which is kind of an important detail when you're. I mean, and okay, so Walt, let's have this discussion then. So, I was watching sort of the media's reaction to the Trump-Putin meeting. It seems like our media is doing everything it can to derail the peace talks. I mean, almost seems like they don't even want peace. They're going to do whatever they can to make the process as difficult as possible.
Yes. Right.
And so in this case, I don't even know. I don't know, as somebody who's been doing this for many years, I don't know whether to call this intellectual dishonesty, because, again, if I am on these airwaves talking about a story, my goal is to tell you the story in as much detail as possible and let you make the decision. So if I'm telling the story, I'm telling the story of the traffic stop, I'm telling the story of the shots fired and all these things. So, is it intellectual dishonesty? Is it I don't ever understand why, as a journalist, people would go out of their way to ignore important details. I mean, basically tell a story where the poor kid just got pulled over and everybody started shooting at him for no reason. Like, why do you tell that story? What benefit do you get from doing that?
Well, the media has a long history of cop hating dating back to the 60s and 70s. And like any of their lies or hatreds, once they start, they never stop. And they never apologize. But though, if they make editorial comments about the public's attitude toward the media, they act like we're doing such a terrific job, and we just don't understand why people don't trust us, why people don't like us, and it's because we're doing such a terrific job, and it's obvious. It's these media outlets from top to bottom. I mean, you have 90% of the staff on the organization are Democrats, and liberal Democrats at that. And it's I remember the days going back to the height of the Cold War when the Soviet Union still existed. If a Republican president was not on the line to the Soviets asking for a meet. The media would attack the Republicans. Well, why aren't you sitting down with the Soviets for peace, kind of thing? Yet when Trump does it, he's a colluder. Score that one.
So, okay, I want to get into this. So what I want to do, Walt, I want to keep you on the line for a little bit as I get into this, because you hit something that I really want to get into. Now, Bob and I, we grew up at the tail end of the Cold War. You know, we weren't around for Vietnam or any of that stuff. We are not, so there's a lot of people that are listening. You're maybe baby boomers. You grew up, like my father just missed the draft for Vietnam. So a lot of older folks grew up with this sort of the Red Scare of the Cold War. Started after World War II, and it sort of escalated, and finally, Mr. Gorbachev tear down that wall, and USSR, broke up. Now, one of the things that I look at, and I think about this a lot, Walt, it was when I watch these documentaries. I was watching a documentary about the Cold War and things like that. I think about in your lifetime, Walt, the trillions of dollars that were spent fighting the Cold War. ICBMs in bunkers, Crystal Palace, Star Wars, stealth fighters, aircraft carriers. I mean, trillions of dollars spent fighting an enemy, fighting a war that we never fought. I mean, thankfully. And so my question always is, Walt, was that money well spent, or what would have happened if at the end of World War II things went differently and we had a less adversarial relationship with Russia? Going back to your point about, working, not necessarily, I mean, again, and that goes back to what people were saying this weekend about Trump. It's like, how dare Trump, sit down with Putin? He's a genocide and whatnot. Had we not had that adversarial relationship, what would the world have looked like? I mean, would we, like you think about it, Vietnam, North Korea, Afghanistan for that matter. I mean, all our entire, history since World War II was based around this adversarial relationship. What would have it looked like if we didn't have it? And then starting from today, what could our future look like if we no longer had the adversarial relationship where, such a percentage of our GDP went to fighting this boogeyman? And I mean, that always goes back to my boogeyman philosophy of how many trillions of dollars did we spend because we're afraid of the redcoats or the Reds or whatever you guys called them back then, the Soviets, because we were afraid of them. And what could that money have been used for instead?
Well, I agree that, I mean, the war is wasted, and actually the so-called Cold War was pretty hot for some of us,
right,
like in Korea and Vietnam.
Or the Cuban Missile Crisis or something like that.
The Soviets were behind it.
Right.
The Soviets instigated both of those wars.
No, I don't disagree.
Korea and Vietnam.
But so going back to today, if we had a better relation, I mean, okay, so on the front end, you're right. On the back end, I mean, even like what was it? Was it Clinton and NATO and all this stuff where we basically were adversarial to Russia on the back end? Russia had basically dissolved, and we continued that adversarial relationship instead of trying to mend fences. I think Kennedy really wanted to try to do that. It was the wrong time. Reagan, obviously, tear down that wall. He would have loved to have been the one to basically mend fences. But it seems like our sort of the American military-industrial complex is not willing to let that go. Do you know what I mean? They're not willing to say, okay, they're no longer a threat. We no longer need to spend these trillions of dollars a year on a country that's essentially, inert at this point. Other than, I understand going to Ukraine, but they no longer pose an existential threat to the United States because most of that stuff doesn't even work. I mean, most of their military is just mothballed at this point. They can't afford to keep it running.
Well, in my opinion, I wish Reagan had been able to stick around for a third term, because I think the whole relationship with the Russians would have gone in a very different direction. It's like the assassination of Lincoln. I think had he lived, I think the whole situation with the South and race and so forth would have gone very, very differently than the way it did. But and the simple truth is Washington lied to the Russians.
Right.
They were ready for a deal.
Right.
And they were told, the Bush administration told them they would not move NATO 1 foot toward their borders. And then they did. Now, I think what they should have done is say, look, there's a little history here in that you allied yourself with Nazi Germany to give us the Second World War. You've had, there's been problems that you've had aggressiveness with Finland, the Baltic states, Poland, Romania, and so forth. So, these countries, because of their bad history with you, they want us to bring them into the NATO thing. So here's the deal. The deal's this. If the country was not a part of the Soviet Empire, after the First World War, that we will accept them into NATO. If they weren't a part of the Soviet Union, that's a different case, like Ukraine. But, of course, the Ukrainians have had some bad experiences with you, too. So there's probably going to need to be, we're not going to push for NATO membership, but we're going to develop a special relationship with the Ukrainians because they'd like to have some protection, too. And, oh, by the way, they agreed to give up their nuclear weapons with guarantees from you.
Right.
Well, the Russians cheated, too. I mean, and as did Washington. I mean, it's the record there is not very well told, and this is not to say Putin was just a minor character when this was all evolved. There were different class of Russians in charge in Russia at the time. They were ready for a deal. I mean, they actually asked to be a part of NATO. Do you know that?
Right, that's what I was just saying. Is right. They asked to be a part of NATO. I think that was under Clinton, right? And he said, "Okay, well, we'll think about it." But then Clinton came back to Washington. They said, "No way." And that's what I keep saying is that going all the way back to Eisenhower and Kennedy and look out for the military-industrial complex is that Washington, I always say it, Washington needs a boogeyman. We would not have spent those trillions of dollars if we didn't have a boogeyman. We wouldn't continue to develop weapons and all this stuff if we didn't have a boogeyman. And I think that's basically, Washington now runs off of that money. You know what I mean? Like Washington, everything runs off of that, and they wouldn't know what to do if we didn't have an existential threat to tell the school children to hide under their desks for. Like, what else would we do? Oh, well, like what would we do? We'd actually work on our infrastructure. We'd work on moving man forward instead of building more things to blow each other up. I mean, like Washington wouldn't know what to do with itself if it didn't have a boogeyman. That it wouldn't have anybody to blame either.
Here's another aspect of this. War and threats of war, paralleling that is the growth in the social welfare state.
Right.
Because you have elements with American society saying, okay, so we won't question too much the military side of the picture, kind of thing, as long as you give us all this free stuff.
You give us free stuff and keep us safe. I mean, you keep, like Red Dawn, keep the Russians from, landing on my football field and, pick up my garbage and that's it. I mean, then I don't care what my taxes are. I don't care that you're adding a new tax every week. I don't care that you're devaluing the dollar. I don't care about all those things because I'm fat and happy and there's no Russians on my football field. They're good, right? I mean, that's all I need. So, hey, Walt, I appreciate the call. I always appreciate your wisdom because, like I said, I mean, you were there, I wasn't, so I appreciate that. I always wonder, like, am I off base on this stuff? But if Walt agrees with me, I think I'm in good company. So, I appreciate the call. So, Joe, what I was trying to tell you is, so Gino had messaged me and said that there was some weird issue that he heard on Saturday, and I'm kind of hearing it too. It's almost like it's like a whooshing. We're going to try to figure it out because Gino mentioned it. Now I'm hearing it. I don't know if it's your microphone or us or the phones or whatever. So throughout the show, I may just kind of get up and go, I think I know what it is, and start pushing buttons because that always ends well. Why don't let's take a break. Let's reset because I want to kind of look into this real quick and see what that noise is. So we don't
see what the whooshing is.
See what the whooshing is because I feel like it's coming from over there. I don't think it's us. So it may have been when you took calls. But like I said, Gino mentioned it, and I'm hearing it now too. So let's take a break. We'll be back with more Summer of Chuck 2, the Electric Boogaloo on WJOB. Hey, there we go. 6:43 in the region. Summer of Chuck 2, the Electric Boogaloo here on WJOB. So, Bob, what were your thoughts? So we just talked to Walt, talked a little bit about. I mean, it's interesting. So Trump and Putin met at Joint Base Elmdorf Richardson in Alaska last week. Zelensky is coming on Monday. Apparently, the Europeans feel like Zelensky is being bullied, so a bunch of Europeans are coming with him. Like a schoolyard brawl or something. All these people are going to come and say, "Yeah, that's right." So, I guess the question is, there are people in the world that, like Walt was saying, they don't want Trump to be the one. I mean, even what did Hillary Clinton say? Like, if he manages to pull this off, I'll nominate him for a Nobel Prize, which obviously she doesn't want to do. So there's this idea that Trump's. So you have to decide if you're a Trump fan or not. Is he genuinely trying to negotiate peace? I don't see a reason why you wouldn't. I mean, I don't see a benefit. Again, to be the president who said, we came up with this historic treaty against the Russians, and I feel like that's a good notch in your belt.
I would say, for anybody who's watched Trump since he came down the escalator in end of 2015, early 16, whenever that was, if you watch what his motivations are to do things, peace between Russia and Ukraine is absolutely something, is a feather that he would like for his cap.
Absolutely.
And for, if you want to say it's for nefarious reasons, just because he wants to say that he did it, fine. We stop killing people and some guy gets a feather in his hat. It works for me. Or if you want to take it to the other side, is he genuinely wants peace? Peace is great for a million reasons. Then you've got that too. So I see zero reason why he would not want this to work. And for, we just got off the phone with Walt and talking about the Cold War and what led into the Cold War. For all these folks out there that are saying, oh, why would Trump meet with Putin? Why would he go to North Korea? Why would he do all these things? It's like these folks forgot that their favorite Democrat near commie-in-chief FDR met with Stalin.
Right.
Several times.
We had Gorbachev here. I love that photo of Gorbachev walking through the produce aisle at a grocery store going, oh, look at all this food,
shocked
guys.
That there's food.
There's food. There's no lines.
So you absolutely, if you are the commander-in-chief, it's your responsibility to meet with some of these folks. And, some folks get in there and they say, Trump is too chummy with North Korea or Putin, these guys. These guys are not your neighborhood bullies that you are fighting over parking spaces with. These are worldwide leaders, and you have to treat them with a certain amount of respect just to get into the room. Because again, if your end goal is peace and to try to negotiate something, so he says, well, yeah, he's a smart guy. I mean, yeah, I think people are putting malice on Trump where it's not deserved. Right. When if they were to look at their own folks, again, I say, FDR met with Stalin, and that's their love child.
But even like the B-2 flyover, I saw a bunch of stories about Putin's body language and Trump's body language and the handshake and Putin's legs were, like all these things that we're analyzing every frame of this meeting and what did Putin's reaction to the B-2 bomber mean and all this stuff. And, we're analyzing every moment of that meeting.
I want to interrupt you there because I did see some folks talking about that flyover, which I think is pure genius, again, a part of strategy. And there were folks saying, oh, well, how much money was that? And it's like, that was probably the least amount of money the government spent that day,
right.
Was having that flyover.
50 planes from Washington to Alaska.
Yes, and so you can pull that and say, oh, well, it cost them $120,000 an hour to fly, so that whole flyover probably cost $4 million.
But they also fly over a football game and you cheer, right? They fly over the NASCAR.
Yeah, over the weekend they had the with the air shows.
Yeah,
all these folks are practicing. Well, come on.
Right. Okay, so Joe says we got some calls. Let's take some calls. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, hi. I think you guys touched on something here with the military-industrial complex. I was born during the Red Scare.
Right, okay.
Back in the early 50s, and I just basically you're talking about my whole life.
Sure, right, absolutely. And for a lot of people, it was their entire life. Hide under the desk, the Reds are coming, all that. That was your life, right? That's the thing.
I mean, when I was in the third grade, we were taking first aid classes on how to survive after a nuclear attack.
Right.
And so this is, and like Eisenhower warned when he left office, the military-industrial complex. This thing built up, and it's like you said, it massively supports D.C. The whole East Coast cabal there that actually profits off of all the trillions of dollars in tax money that have gone into this thing with this boogeyman. And if they were really serious about this, why are Joe McCarthy was right. We have more to worry about internally than the Russians or the Chinese are sort of a different kind of deal, but we've got more internally to worry about here. It's like I forgot who said that if this country ever falls, it'll happen from the inside.
Sure.
And the whole idea of communism, through Marx. And Marx, if you dig into it, Marx was supported by some of the richest oligarchs in Europe at the time. And the reason they do that, people say, well, why would a capitalist want to support communism? It's the greatest crony scheme ever devised.
Well, it's kind of like even people say, who are the wealthiest people in Cuba? Castro's, grandchildren and children. You know what I mean? Like, even in communist countries, the leader's family are the wealthiest, they're the ones that have, speedboats and things like that. So it doesn't matter, what the system is. The cronyism is still going to be there. Okay, so here's my question for you then. So you have a generation that grew up, your entire life was, basically the Red Scare. Do you imagine that there's ever going to be a time that your generation would accept, like if Putin said, okay, you know what, I'm tired of playing this game, we basically find peace, we find middle ground. Do you think that your generation would ever accept just sort of like, okay, it's over, there's no more, there's no more boogeyman?
No, I think, matter of fact, I just talked to a crony of mine the other day, around the same age. And when you talk to people, they're uninformed. Why people are uninformed, why they go through their whole life without trying to learn more of what's going on, I have no idea. But he still is under the impression that the Russians are anti-Christian and they're actually killing priests and all this kind of thing. And of course the Soviet Union did these things, but it was about control.
Sure. Right.
But again, if you look at it now, Russia is probably the most Christian Western country in the world right now. Though Europe is gone. I don't know where Europe's at. It's all...
But that's the point, though. You spend all that time watching the boogeyman, and meanwhile, everything else is falling.
Right. Yeah, and the thing is that my generation's gone. Forget about it. We're never going to change. And the younger generation, the problem with the younger generation, they've been indoctrinated by the Marxists on our side, that have actually, for generations now have been controlling our schools. If you look at the history of public education, it was actually the modern education in this country, starting around the early 1900s, was dominated by socialists and Marxists. And it was starting to happen when I was in school, but it's gone to the races now. I mean, these kids are taught that this country, 1619 project, this country is terrible, Granted, we've done a lot of bad things, but every country in the world has. When pound for pound, people all over the world want to live under our system because by far it's not the fantastic, but it's the best. It's probably the best house in a bad neighborhood.
It's done the most for society. I mean, it's brought the most people. I mean, it's sort of ironic that in a couple of generations you went from people in poverty were starving to now people in poverty are essentially overweight because they're getting so many just garbage calories, right? I mean, that's sort of an interesting discussion now with RFK and about being able to buy sugary drinks with your food stamps and things like that. It's an interesting discussion, and maybe we'll get into that later in the show because it's the same kind of ideas. Like, everybody that's complaining about capitalism has a big screen TV, has a smartphone, has a car. You do not wait in line for food. The food is handed to you, and yet you're still complaining. So, but hey,
we're well down the road to socialism in this country. It's like I get it all the time from people my age and about Social Security and that. I was born into it. It was a scam from the get-go. It was a way for the government to grab the wealthy American people for whatever overseas adventures they had or whatever. And so, but I don't condone it. I don't agree with it. But it's a system I was born under, and if it's there, and I paid into it all these years, I am going to benefit.
Well, and that's the problem. You can never
a contract law.
But how do you fix a system if even just looking at it, kind of like, again, going back to Elon Musk, I mean, they were out on Ridge Road again over the weekend going, Elon Musk is stealing my Social Security. It's like, no, he's trying to keep it solvent. And the fact that you're fighting him from trying to keep the system solvent is why it's going to go insolvent. So, hey.
Those are the people that, I guess it was Lenin, what was it, Lenin called useful idiots?
Right. No,
basically,
I agree.
The thing that people don't understand about communism, there's a lot of foot soldiers that are actually promoting this thing that don't know what they're advocating for. The people at the very top know what it's about because it's like you say, it's the best form of crony capitalism, I guess you could call it.
Well, yeah, because they're making money on
small
both
court at the
sides.
top that gets all. They basically it's a pyramid scheme to the max.
Right.
The very core at the top controlled everything. Look at Red China, and everybody else is basically a minion. And then once the people start to wake up, if they give you any trouble, they go to the gulag or you just shoot them.
Right. Well, I mean, Russia was the same way. Like even going back to, even like when you talk about why Chernobyl was such a disaster, because nobody wanted to be the one that said, "Oh, by the way, everybody, here's what's happening." They spent the entire time lying about it until the point where they couldn't hide it anymore because the entire planet goes, "Hey, there's radiation coming from over there." I mean, that's the whole problem, is you have a system where everybody's afraid to be the one to speak up because you want to be a good comrade, you want to be, part of the party and all that. You want to be the good party, party member. You don't want to be the guy who's ruffling feathers, sitting on the radio at 6:56 in the region, upsetting everybody. So, but hey, I appreciate the call. We got to take a couple more before we take a break. So,
okay, all right, guys.
Nice wisdom
Thank
there.
you.
Okay,
I do want to interrupt here.
Yeah.
With a truth from Donald Trump.
Uh-oh.
That he just truthed.
He truthed
out into the world here, so we can talk about this after the break here. Evidently, he's going to be signing an executive order today. Have you read this?
Making Summer of Chuck 2 the official radio show of
the United States. Done.
Okay.
The second executive order that he'll be signing is to eliminate mail-in ballots and machine voting.
So this was an interesting thing, machine voting. Like machines can't vote, or we don't vote on machines?
Yes, both.
So
he's worried about Elon's AI robots.
Okay, so this...
But yes, he wants to... I'm going to lead the movement to get rid of mail-in ballots, and also, while we're at it, highly inaccurate, very expensive, and seriously controversial voting machines, which cost 10 times more than accurate and sophisticated watermark paper, which is faster and leaves no doubt, etc., etc.
Look, I remember when we would vote in like third grade. We'd get a bunch of marbles, we put them in a bucket, we count the bucket. Like, how hard is that? Okay, anyway, I'm joking. But so that was an interesting discussion that came out of that meeting, is that he came out of that meeting with Putin talking about mail, and basically Putin said, "Hey, your whole system is corrupt." It's like, well, yeah, I knew that.
Yeah.
But he came out of that meeting all fired up about. I don't know if Putin sat him down and said, "Hey, man, I got a lot of spies in your country, and we saw a lot of weird stuff during those last elections." I mean, and that's something that's come up quite a bit. So he came out of that meeting. That's one of the things he was fired up about, mail-in voting. And I mean, like I said, I don't know if Putin had a file folder. He's like, "Hey, before you even start talking, I got a bunch of stuff to show you.
Here's what really happened.
Here's what really happened." Yeah, right. I mean, that sort of the thing is like, who knows? Who knows? But that was something that he came out of there fired up. Obviously the goal is to have the most secure. I mean, even people always say, it's like, how is it my dollar bill has a serial number on it, but my ballot doesn't? How is it that, 10 million people can vote for American Idol over the commercial break? You know what I mean? So why don't we take a break? We got some phone calls, we got traffic and weather, all that stuff. So we're gonna reset. We want to talk more about this. We want to hear your opinions on it. We'll be back with more Summer of Chuck 2, the Electric Boogaloo, here on WJOB. Hey, it is 7:01 in the region. Chuck Pullen, Bob Starkey. We got Joe in the producer's booth. Let's take a look, since it's the top of the hour, traffic and weather. So traffic here in the region looking good. Not much to report. Everything moving along just fine on 8094, 65, Toll Road. If you're heading around the city, things are looking good. You've got the usual sort of building traffic. Looks like things may be getting a little heavy on the Bishop Ford into the Dan Ryan. There was some earlier stuff going on downtown, so the Dan Ryan a little heavier than normal. It's going to be a little slow going in once you hit the Skyway. Other than that, things looking good on the area roadways. Joe, how are things in weather?
Things in weather are looking great. So we're going to have some thunderstorms today and tomorrow with a high of 86 today and a high of 84 tomorrow. And then to fill out the rest of the weekdays, we're going to have matching 77 highs on Wednesday and Thursday with no rain and just a little bit of humidity. And then for the weekend, the last weekend of summer for PNW students, we're going to have a great one with highs of 83 on Friday, 82 on Saturday, and 78 on Sunday, with just a little bit of thunderstorm spots in the morning on Sunday. And that's your weather for the week.
Thank you, sir. Bob's going to be out for a few minutes. He's on a Zoom call. He's got to sit, wait his turn to say nothing to add. But so we are going to take some phone calls while Bob's out. And then we'll talk about some of the stuff that we were talking about in the last segment. So, good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, Chuck, it's the Coos.
What's up, man? How are you?
Hey, I'm good. I just want to chime in and say I've got Big Frank sausage in my mouth, so I can't get a word in edgewise for a J.
Oops. Oh, Joe, he was just doing a big Oh, man, that's terrible. But Big Frank out at the Kielbasa Festival this weekend. Heard that was a lot of fun. I saw some videos of Tony Panic out there dancing. So I'm glad that's a new thing. I was out of town, I couldn't make it, but it's always fun to see a new festival pop. The Kielbasa Fest is growing and growing. I'm glad to see. Again, it's like that's the cool thing about the region. There's always something every weekend. There's something to do. Whether you're into music, whether you're into eating. I'm into eating, so I always looking for some junk food to eat. So we were just talking in the last segment. Bob we broke some news that Trump put out a truth saying that he wants to reevaluate the mail-in balloting system, the machine ballots. I mean, basically wants to revamp the whole process. Every time something like that comes up, I think about that night on CNN back in, 2008, where Mayor Tom and Mayor Rudy Clay, rest in peace, were arguing live on CNN. The whole region just sat there as, McDermott was accusing Gary of throwing voting machines in the lake and whatever else. And I just sat there and drank and said, well, this is the region for you. And of course, within minutes, I was scrolling social media. Of course, the very first thing from HuffPost, headline, the very real possibility that Trump could try to destroy women's voting rights. So Trump wants to jump in, Joe. I mean, again, isn't it it's comical that, like, hey, Trump says we want to make the system work better. So HuffPost immediately, he's trying to take away women's right to vote. I mean, that darn Trump. I mean, the fact that there are people that consume that media and believe it. Like the idea that Trump would just by executive order go, women can't vote anymore. And then we just go, oh, okay, no problem. No problem, boss. I mean, that's what's crazy to me is that there are people that not only write that, but then there's people that believe that.
Yeah, as somebody who is just recently starting to try and get into the political scene.
Good luck.
Yeah, it's hard to figure out where I should be looking, what's giving me, the most 50-50 so that I can form my own opinion.
There isn't one. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So what I was saying earlier about even the meeting with Trump and Putin is, the problem that most people have is that they are headline readers. So the average person that reads HuffPost is going to read the very real possibility that Trump is trying to destroy our women's voting rights. And then now they say that the other line is, years ago, the idea that women shouldn't have the right to vote would have been an absurd stance. Now it cannot be dismissed as just right-wing nonsense. And 85% of people, that's all they're going to read. And they're going to spend their day going, Trump is trying to take away women's right to vote. I'm the opposite. I spent all weekend reading articles from everybody from, Fox News to CNN to TMZ about this meeting. And like I said, it was funny because like TMZ had the most balanced, they had the least biased opinion on what happened, in Alaska. So it's just kind of funny that you get to that point where, like, when you're navigating, my advice has always been, you have to read, like, if you read 5 articles about a story, somewhere in the middle, you might find the truth. So you're not going to find the truth from Fox News. You're going to get a nugget from Fox News. You're going to get a nugget from CNN. You're going to get a nugget from the Associated Press. Somewhere in there, you have to be smart enough to go, okay, that makes sense. That doesn't make sense. And it's something that it's like an acquired thing that you will learn over time. And I mean, again, for me, like the last thing I want to do is come on these airwaves and start spouting nonsense from either side because we got enough of that in the world. So it's kind of like you have to really just dig deep into it, because what I find a lot of times, like with Fox News or HuffPost, is their opinions in the beginning and then the good stuff's at the bottom. So I generally just like skip 4 or 5 paragraphs down, and then like the very last paragraph's like oh, by the way, here's all the stuff that you need to know. So again, it's a lot of work. It is. I mean, it's a lot of work to get to the bottom of what's really going on. And so, yeah, I mean, like you said, if you're somebody that's getting into it, it takes a while to understand. One of the stories that I tell on these airwaves is the reason I kind of got into this was because I got interested in local news. I would start going to meetings, I'd start going to events, and then I'd read the article the next day in the newspaper, and I go, were they at the same thing I was? Because that's not at all what happened. And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, I wonder if it's just that one person, or I wonder if it's just that one newspaper that does that. And then as I got into Chicago politics and I started doing more, I realized it's not just that one person, it's everybody does that. Everybody goes to meetings, writes about it. There were times that they would, going back to the train, there were times that the story about the train meeting was online before the train meeting even started. Like, I'm like, wait, there's an article about the train meeting. It hasn't even started. Like, the guy's out in the hallway writing the article because he has to get on to the next thing. So it was amazing to me to see and then to think that that's where people get their information from. And again, I understand, but honestly, I would tell you, start going to your town council meetings, start going to meetings, because it's interesting, because you'll start to see what's really happening and what you're being told is happening. And obviously, we can't go to Indianapolis, we can't go to Washington, we can't sit in, on congressional hearings and things like that. But it really is interesting to see how that plays out, and to see it firsthand. So, I'm trying to stall. I don't know how long Bob's going to be, but if you guys want to call in, 219-845-1100, if you want to chime in on any of the stuff that we're talking about with these meetings. I mean, I can't see how this is not going to be productive. I think going back to what our callers were saying, this idea that we need to have presidents that are willing to sit down with people. I mean, even the idea that Trump would walk across the DMZ in North Korea all by himself. Just like, hey, I'm just going to go for a stroll in a communist territory. I mean, again, that took guts, and that was, that's something that there's few people that can pull that off. Even the idea of, grabbing Putin's arm, and they're kind of having like who had the firmest handshake as a B-2, like how America is that? You're shaking hands with the Russians as a B-2 bomber's flying overhead. I mean, again, it's like, it's almost like it's out. You couldn't write this stuff. But the fact that it's playing out, I mean, again, I think ultimately something needs to come of it. But I mean, I guess that becomes the question is, like I said, the media, there's stuff going on with, was it Marco Rubio was on the Sunday morning shows, and they were having outbursts and stuff like that. So it just really, it just becomes interesting that people's narratives, people's, hatred of somebody else gets in the way of wanting peace. And again, this idea that they came out of these meetings and the media was saying, oh, Trump failed. It's like, well, what did you think Putin was going to walk out of the meeting and go, oh, I'm sorry, sir, I was completely wrong. We're leaving right now. Like, we're backing up. We're backing out of the Ukraine. You were right. Like, that's never going to happen. And since that didn't happen, everybody's like, oh, well, Trump failed. Trump failed at peace talks. Like, no, that's not how this works. And, I mean, there's going to have to be some concessions. But at the end of the day, what did he say? And I think most rational people would agree with him. Like, we just want the killing to stop, right? I mean, and again, to see some of war is always horrific, but to see some of the stuff like the drone warfare and how that's being used. I mean, I couldn't imagine. And a lot of the people, like most wars, most of the people that are fighting it aren't the ones that want to fight it. I mean, they're people being, pulled off the streets of the Ukraine to fight, old folks, young folks, and, people that just don't want to be there being forced to fight each other. And they're like, what are we doing here as drones are blowing up over their heads? So Joe, I did want to get into this a little bit because, some of the callers, a lot of our callers, skew a little bit older. And so a lot of them, and I've done it plenty of times too, is sort of like, those young whippersnappers, they always are critical of sort of your generation. So, I mean, what are your thoughts when you hear, like even what I was talking about earlier, I meet a lot of young people that sort of have this romantic vision of like communism. They have this idea that, it's Elon Musk's fault that everything's so expensive. Like if we would just tax Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos more, I mean, is it, and I was never young and stupid. So I hope. So like to me, I never got that, but it just seems like there's more people of your generation are kind of like, even like what's happening in New York with Mom Donnie. I mean, this idea of just let the government run everything.
Yeah, I don't really, I don't know. It's a little bit tough for me because I want to sit here and say that I agree with you and that I don't understand our younger generation, that I'm a little bit more like old-headed, but at the same time, I've never until recently taken any steps to, try and make my voice heard as like as a sole person or a sole civilian. Like I've never voted or anything like that. So on one hand, I understand where you're coming from, but on the other hand, it's not like I guess I did anything to change it.
But what's interesting though is I keep seeing these. Again, I spend way too much time on social media just kind of digesting these things that people talk about. Why should I have to work 40 hours a week? It's too much. Like even I was reading an article the other day about why should we have side hustles? Why should we have a second job? And it's sort of like, to me, is that it's always been, you have the option. Like if you want to work part-time, if you can scrape by, if you can work part-time, find a place, if that's what you want out of life, you have that option. You have that. We have a big enough safety net in this country that you can work a part-time job, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough because the cost of everything keeps going down. If you want to work a full-time job, if you, want to work too, like in my case, I run businesses, I work, nearly 7 days, and I enjoy doing it. But I also, do that to take care of my family. So, I see all these people that are like, well, why do I have to work 40 hours? Why? Like, well, you don't have to. I mean, you don't have to, but you're not going to do a whole lot. But again, it's sort of this idea of why should anybody, it's kind of like, even you look at like, so there was this whole discussion. I'm sure you've seen this, like people on these TikTok people going, the government won't let me buy my kids pop anymore. There was a woman, I was watching a podcast, they were talking about, they were breaking down this woman's video about not being able to buy pop and not being able, it was interesting because she said, don't I deserve a brownie? I'm on food stamps, I'm raising my children, I'm a single mom, don't I deserve a brownie? And what these guys said was really interesting to me because he said, you know what I did? I looked it up. This woman could still use her benefits card to buy all of the ingredients to make her own brownies. So that woman could make brownies if she wanted to, but she doesn't want to do that. She wants to buy, ready-made brownies from Walmart. She wants somebody else to do the work. And it was interesting, just this idea of people say, well, now I can't have brownies. Like, no, you can, but you have to make it. You have to take the time to find a recipe, get the ingredients, and make it yourself. You can't just go into Walmart where somebody else has made all of this food for you. And it's sort of interesting because that's sort of that philosophy of people is like, now I can't have a brownie. It's like, no, you absolutely can, but you need to put in the work, right? I mean, it's interesting just to kind of think of it in those terms. And that becomes another discussion about for the average person that's paying for people's benefits. It's like, I want your children to eat. I want your children to eat just like mine, but also there's this idea of, should you be able to buy a Slurpee with your food stamp card? I remember even in Chicago, I took a picture one time because I was literally like walking by the Slurpee machine and it said, food stamps accepted on the Slurpee machine. It's like, oh wait, like is that what this system is for? so that you can buy a Slurpee with it, right? And again, nobody's taking away your right to buy the Slurpee. You just have to pay for it yourself. I'm not going to pay for your Slurpee. I'm going to pay for milk, eggs, and bread, and you can buy a Slurpee with your excess capital, as it were. And it's interesting to me because that's sort of, and it's not even like a generational thing. It's just like in general in our society, it's just sort of this idea of, well, I can't have it now. It's like, no, you can. You have to work for it. You can have whatever you want. You just have to work for it. It's like, well, how dare I don't want to work 40 hours a week. Well, we're at an impasse here, right? I mean, it's like we can only help you so much. But that's the problem is then those people create boogeymen. It's like, well, it's Elon Musk's fault. If we only taxed Elon Musk more, I'd have money for brownies. Like that's what I get out of that conversation.
Yeah, that stuff's kind of weird for me. So like, I don't know if this is like the proper analogy, but like, it's like giving your kid money to go get some food and then he comes back with a toy.
Right.
So like,
but then he's hungry. He's like, I'm hungry.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you had the capital to buy the food. You chose the toy. And
right.
Again, depending on what kind of parent you are, if I'm the parent, I go, well, looks like you're going hungry tonight. I wonder how that toy tastes, right? I mean, that's how I would go. I'd learn a lesson. Yeah. Most parents would go, oh, well, that's fine. I'll give you more money. You've learned no lesson. You've had no opportunity for responsibility. I'm going to give you more money, or I will make you dinner or buy you dinner because you weren't responsible. Yeah,
and it's just like, luckily I'm fortunate enough to where I am like one of those spoiled kids that would just get more money. But, not every kid is like that.
And look how you turned out, though.
Is that a good thing? I don't know.
I just want to see your reaction. But no, I mean, again, there's nothing wrong with spoiling kids or spoiling your grandkids. But again, there's a point where you have responsibility where it's like, oh, well, you bought a toy. Looks like you're going hungry. I mean, don't let your kids starve for 3 days. I'm saying let them think about that for a little bit.
It's all about the cards in your hand, right? So like, everyone wants to spoil their kids, but if you're not fortunate enough to be in that situation, then, you don't get the brownies. You got to suck it up and, get your chicken, get your rice, and get them what they need to get through the week and not,
Well, it's always funny, even like with my kids, is, we talked last week. We had, Big George passed away. We had his funeral on Wednesday. We had a nice get-together at his shop afterwards. I sat down with a lot of people. And I was always thinking about something that he said. So he's a business owner, and he said, I would try to hire young people. I tried to help people. Like if somebody said, hey, my kid needs a job or whatever, I would hire them and I'd find a place for them. I'd hire this kid. And it's like all you got to do is push a broom and clean up the shop. Keep the shop clean. Like basic, very minimal. He's like, half these kids don't even know how to use a broom. They didn't know how to put their phone down. I would give them basic instructions like, hey, do this. Here's 3 things to do. And they would get confused and couldn't get past the first one. And I always say, like with my kids, I'm like, the last thing I want is for my kids to go out into the world and people go, who raised that kid? You know what I mean? Like my son knows how to fix things. He knows how to push a broom. He knows, like he's alongside me when I do things. My daughter's getting to that age too, where it's like, hey, you're cleaning up that mess. You're gonna help the family take care of the house, do whatever. Like we spent yesterday doing stuff. Everybody had a chore. And I mean, I think that's the thing. I meet so many people whose kids have like no chores. They're like, playing Call of Duty somewhere. It's like, well, where are your kids? Where are your kids? Who takes out the garbage? Teach your kids to do laundry. Teach your kids to cook. Like that, it's basic stuff. And it's not even like, the girl should cook. Like everybody should learn how to cook. My son's learning how to cook, right? I mean, that's the whole thing. My daughter will take out the trash and my son will cook. I think that's, that's how it should be. It shouldn't even be a question, but there's far too many people in this world. It's like, they don't do it. They don't teach their kids to do it. And then we wonder why nobody knows how to do anything. So, okay, you want to take a call and then take a break, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, let's
take a call. That. Good morning, caller on the air.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
Save the best for last, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. How's it going?
Let me just say this. And I don't really look at myself as a red or a blue, meaning partist. I look at this as America, red, white, and blue, okay? All people. And what I'm seeing in Washington, and Donald Trump had an opportunity, the people voted for him. But again, have he been lying to us in a lot of cases? Okay, first of all, he said that Russia didn't attack Ukraine, and they come to find out they did.
I mean, is that really in the discussion? I mean,
No.
He said that. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm just simply saying that every time that he says something, he's always said that Putin was his friend. But look how he treated that guy from from Ukraine, you playing with dead guys, and pretty much told him get the hell out of there. He doesn't sound like a president that I would want to think of all American presidents, and we've had some good ones, and he's not one of them. Right now, there are people who are suffering from mental illness in the street every day. Right now, I'm 78 years old, okay? And if I'm thinking about taking everything out of my, because if I have to go in a nursing home, they want to take all my assets.
Right.
So my thing, hold on. Let me
right. I agree with you. You're right.
Yeah. So he's not just, so I'm just saying I have a son who's 47 years old. And I'm going to do the same thing my mother did 5 years in Arkansas. She taken out everything and gave it to one of my sisters who was the administrator over the Matlock's, estate. And I'm thinking about doing the same thing because right now we just had a gentleman here the other week. He called all the time, truck a bike. He needs some real help. And what has happened, Donald Trump has basically told some of these people who we have in charge, we need to cut some of these programs. It's costing us too much. So he's pimping the public every day, but yet still, here's a man barely trying to just, who worked, who have given, Trucker Bike has done this thing, and he's had some little things, and I myself felt bad, and I basically wanted to start some kind of contribution for him, and I started. I don't know if it went on, because the government shouldn't have to. Eventually, that guy in blue, I think it was Santos, from East Chicago, came forward. Of course, him being a Democrat, that's what he did. That was his job to do.
That was his job.
So I'm saying I am sick and tired. Hold on, I am sick and tired. I'm not trying to. It is a discussion we back and forth for you and I. I'm not trying to take control of your. I appreciate you allowing me to have an opportunity to come and see it.
I appreciate you taking the time to call.
I live in America, okay? And too often, it's red or blue, okay? That's where I'm going. I'm going with the right person. I think you're a libertarian, aren't you?
I am, so I am neither red nor blue in this case.
Okay, well, that's a good thing. I like that. I like independence, because right now, this is every day. I cut off the television. I don't want to hear it every day. It's something new. Now, all of a sudden, the crime in D.C., we're gonna put that on the street. Okay, but my understanding, based on what I'm hearing, the crime went down, but he wants to get the credit.
Can I ask a question about that, though? So there is.
Please do.
Okay, so now here's the question. Again, going back to red and blue, there is this idea out there, and this is not unique to D.C. There is this idea that in major cities, they are underreporting crime. They're not responding to crimes specifically to pad the numbers. And so, again, long before this story came up in D.C., I know people firsthand in Chicago where they would be a victim of a crime, and they would call the police, and either nobody would ever come. It would take 4 hours for somebody to come to take a report. They would say, oh, well, there's no reason to take a report. And so what happens if even 20% of the people that are victims of robbery, like say in Chicago, they don't take a report? Guess what? Now robbery statistics are down 20%, but it's not true. So again, and so what happens is you have both sides playing this game.
Both sides, okay.
Right. I agree with you. Both sides are playing the game. But that becomes the question is, like anything else, do we even know the statistics about what's happening in Washington? I don't know. Or in Chicago, when they say the numbers are down. There was a time years ago where Chicago was saying the numbers were down, and the FBI was saying it was up, and nobody could agree on the numbers, right? And that to me is a fundamental flaw, because if somebody gets robbed, there should be a report. Should go. If somebody gets shot, you can't hide somebody being shot. You can't hide.
No, you can't. You can't hide that.
Right.
I'm agreeing. And I'm a law and order type person. I really am. I support the men in blue, and I believe they are trying to do a good job. But I think sometimes if you got a person, let's say, head of the FBI, Donald Trump is the head of the FBI. Okay. If that guy don't do his job, Trump will do apprentice. You're fired.
Right.
You know that.
As it should be, though.
You know that.
As it should
I know
be.
that.
Regardless of as it should be. If you're not doing your job, you're fired.
Yeah. But I'm just simply saying that if you put a person in charge, I want that person to do the job and not have to go and ask him what's going on. Donald Trump said he's too busy to taking care of this country by saying, I'm going at all my political enemies. Anybody did something to me, they're going to be investigated. This is terrible, libertarian guy.
Okay,
this is terrible.
I'm just a libertarian guy. I'm token libertarian. But here's the thing, Ron, and I want to get back to one of the things you said. So you talked about Social Security, and I completely agree with you. I don't want to get into people's business, but I know that Trucker Mike is navigating the system. I know, like MX was helping him. I'm helping someone navigate the system. And I, my entire life, I know people that have struggled because of Social Security and things like that. Here's the fundamental issue to talk about. When Social Security was first created, I think the numbers were there was 8 people working to support one person. So 8 people were paying into the system and one person was taking out. Okay, it's now down to like 3 or 2 people. So for every person on Social Security, there are 2 or 3 people working. And again, there's nothing to do with red or blue. This is statistics, right? As you have more baby boomers getting on Social Security, eventually we're going to be on a 1-to-1. You're going to have, for every person on Social Security, there's only going to be one person putting into the system. The system is running a massive deficit. And the problem is, going back to your red and blue analogy, this is nothing, you can't argue this. You can't fudge these statistics. This is something that we've known for decades. And the question is, what is it going to take for red and blue to come together and go, hey, this math ain't mathin', and we have a problem that needs to be addressed. Because if you don't, it's kind of like a sinking ship. If you don't plug the little hole in the ship, if you fight the whole time about how to plug the hole, guess what? Eventually the entire ship is going to sink while you're arguing, right? And that's my question is, I need to see both sides come together.
Your question is, how can we come together? Okay,
right.
That's a good thing. I like that. That would be good for all of us, okay? Now, but what is happening right now in Texas? They had to leave and come to Chicago, I believe, so they could get a quorum. All of a sudden, in Indiana, we have 9 congressional district congressmen, they call them. There's only 2 they go out. In other words, we want 100%. They don't want to come together with us. I think Andre Carson and Frank Mervan, our representative here. So what they wanted to do, they want to send it way out, probably to Lafayette, Frank's saying, where it would not be. But I'm just saying. Maybe you don't look into it and know it as much as I know about politics, okay? Because I know how it works, okay? I've been there. I've been an office holder. I've been where we had to. I appropriated millions of dollars, meaning that people say, "Oh, you did?" Yeah, I was a township board member, okay? I was a township board member, and I had to approve the budget for the township government. And somebody say, "Well, you did. Why did so many people in the township go to jail?" I had nothing to do with that. They run the day-to-day operation. I appropriate funding. So I'm just simply saying I get tired of this BS. People don't know what they're talking about.
Can I ask? I want to ask you another question then. Okay, so you brought it up. We're going to talk about it in the next segment, and then we got to take a break. So, like for instance, I find it ironic that Texas Democrats came to Illinois. Now, I don't know if you know much about this. I really one of my political topics that I really enjoy is gerrymandering. Now, have you ever looked at the congressional districts in Illinois? I mean, they literally, like the 4th district, I think is the 13th district. I mean, no joke. They've drawn these lines like around people's houses, like through neighborhoods. I mean, this is gerrymandering to the extreme. I looked up a list of the top 10 most gerrymandered districts. Illinois has like 3 of them. So, I mean, again, this isn't a problem that's unique to red or blue. This is something that both sides do. And Illinois is an example of gerrymandering to the extreme, like, across the street and around somebody's house kind of thing.
Indiana is not, huh?
Indiana. Okay, so for instance, Indiana is not because, for instance, what is Frank's district? It doesn't cut through St. John. It doesn't cut up the boulevard. It's counties.
But it's not over yet. It's not over.
I agree, but I'm saying Indiana does not have districts going through neighborhoods. It has counties.
It's just beginning. So, in other words, they want 100% in Indiana. Andre Carson, boom, we don't want you, Frank Mervan, and we want 100%. And we know what we've been getting. If we keep voting that way, if you are Medgar Because right now, Donald Trump don't give a damn. I use that term. We about you or I in terms of this. He's lining his pockets, and then people right now. You think he care about you when you talk about they going at Social Security, they going at all kinds of things. They even going at making it so that I'm veterans. I'm a veteran, man.
Okay.
You know what he said. What I'm telling, and I talked to some experts. They're telling some of the people who are working there, some people are getting too much. You need to cut it down. You cut it down. But he's getting everything on. Come on, give me a break.
So let me ask you a question.
This reminds me of Jim Jones.
Okay, let's go back to this. So let's say that Indiana. I don't know the breakdowns off the top of my head. Let's say Indiana had 40-something% Democrat. Let's say Indiana was 46 or 48% Democrat, and we had 0 Democrats representing us in Congress. You would say that's a problem, right? So if almost half of Indiana was Democrat and yet we had no Democratic congressman, that'd be a problem, right? You would agree?
Yeah. Yes,
so, okay, in New Mexico, 46% Republican, 0 Republicans in Congress. New Hampshire, 48% Republican, 0 Congress. So again, it goes both ways. I have 9 examples right in front of me of blue states that don't have a single Republican representative because of gerrymandering. So it goes both ways, and that's all I ask you to remember is, because and it's sort of like going back to what Gavin Newsom says. Texas is doing it, and it's bad, so I'm going to do it. Is that? I mean, that's a race to the bottom, right? To say, well, Texas is bad.
Let me say one last thing, because you've given me ample time, and I really appreciate that. Because sometimes I have a lot of people from WJOB, living in Hammond and Redden, and they say, I hear you loud and clear, but I'm afraid to say anything because they will demonize me. I say, okay, no. I'm just simply saying that right now, we face right now with some serious problems. My doctor told me with this big, he know how to craft his legislation. Big, beautiful bill. BBB, triple B. Okay?
Rebuilding America, Obamacare. I mean, they all do the same thing.
No.
They all do it.
What he's doing.
They all do it.
This part, well, hold on. This is part of the, when we talked about that during the campaign, 25, Operation Program 25, Donald Trump said he knew nothing about it, but every one of those persons on that thing is doing exactly what he wanted them to do in terms of this. So when we have all the nursing homes, and I might have to go in a nursing home one day. My doctor's saying, I won't call his name because I don't want them going at him. He's saying that if you happen to go right now, they may have to close down nursing homes. What about the mental illness people walking through? I'm just saying it's sad. So, but with that, I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of feedback, but that's okay. I got a broad shoulder, and I just believe I'm a true American. I love America. Okay, I don't hate America. I love America. But again, I don't want somebody pimping the public, selling gym shoes, selling perfume,
selling hope and chains, hats, and T-shirts, for instance. I mean, the same idea. A riding with Biden. I'm sure you had a riding with Biden bumper sticker. It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
I don't care. I have never known anybody in Washington, D.C. every day the controversy of Donald Trump. Would you agree with that?
Oh, no. I mean, every president. I mean, were you around for, pick Clinton, pick anybody.
No, on the news.
On the news, though, is that the reality? This is what I'm saying, is the news the reality, or is it the news?
They are covering the news. So naturally, they take a picture. I guess Donald Trump said that was not of me. But they took a picture of him saying and what he's saying. And it's terrible, man. I mean, if you're a libertarian and you don't see that, then you like Ray Charles. Okay? With that, you'll have a great day.
Wow. I mean, it's better than being called fat, I guess. So, but again, that's the problem, is that it's always like, well, look what they're doing. It's like, yeah, and your side does the exact same thing. So for every example you give me of their side doing something, I can give you 5 examples of your side doing it.
It does, and there is some grotesque reporting on Trump. It is every single day is another issue with Trump. Meanwhile, we spent 4 years of them doing the exact same thing to Biden, but never reporting on it. All of us could see with our eyes that the man had lost it and losing it. No, he's fine. He's sharp as a tack.
Until they couldn't hide it anymore.
Yeah, until they couldn't hide it. So that is just a different form of lying. So yes, every single day there is something on Trump, but every single day the legacy media, the entrenched media, whatever you want to call them, they are doing some type of lying on somebody's behalf.
But
with Trump, it's just vocal. With Biden, it was silent.
Right, but he said, look at all the like, no, the media is, are those real, though? But, I mean, even going back to his gerrymandering example, this idea that, I love this narrative where Gavin Newsom says, how dare Texas, this is an attack on democracy, now watch me do it. Right now, I'm going to do it myself. So that's the whole thing. It's like this race to the bottom of this idea that Democrats from Texas flew to Illinois, the most gerrymandered state, where literally, no joke, the 4th district is drawn around people's houses, right? And I don't want that. I don't want that in Indiana. I don't think that's beneficial. So if you're asking me, no, I don't want gerrymandered districts that go up and down my neighborhood. But that's the point, is that, you know, even when J.B. Pritzker was on with Colbert held up a picture of the state of Illinois and said, "Is this normal?"
And he could only chuckle because it was, well, you know.
But he didn't do it. But he's part of the system. So it's like, how dare you? It's like that whole idea of like, hey, my neighbor has a bunch of weeds. Yeah, and your house is on fire, right? I mean, it's like, you know. So that's a whole thing, and that's what, when he talks about red and blue, that's what I think of. It's like, you know, we have broken systems. We have a broken healthcare system, a broken Social Security system, all of these broken systems, and everybody. I mean, like, again, trying to blame Trump for a Social Security system that's been broken for 50 years since its inception. It was designed to fail, and it's like, well, it's Trump's fault. You know what I mean? Like, where the healthcare system's been broken forever, and it's like, oh, it's Trump's fault. He's like, I'm playing you off. We'll be back with more Summer of Chuck 2, the Electric Boogaloo on WJOB. Hey, it is 7:41 here in the region. Summer of Chuck 2. We got Bob Starkey. We got Joe.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Joe. We got callers. He says we got a full boat. Let's take some calls. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, Joe, Bob, Chuck.
Hey, how are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, Joe, I know you're busy in there, but if you could take just a couple notes on some names I'm going to drop. Matlock, nobody's going to demonize you, but I'm going to tell you you're a clown. Let's talk about some things. Let me give you these names, Joe. Schumer, Schiff, Pelosi. And Matlock, since you want to bring up the FBI, let's talk about Comey. Where are we? Where are we with the Steele dossier, Matlock? And I dare you to bring up that veteran baloney one more time. Our veterans sat on the wayside while your Democrats flooded the country with illegals. Don't talk to me about being a veteran and trying to take care of our veterans when your entire Democratic Party screwed up this country so bad, we'll be cleaning up the mess for years to come. Matlock, you're a clown.
So I want to go back to the same thing, same question to you, the same thing I asked him, even going back to this idea of, Governor Newsom saying, what Texas is doing is a threat to democracy. And now watch me do it to California. Like, to me, I don't get it as an outsider. I don't get, or this idea of J.B. Pritzker on Colbert and him going, Texas can't do that. And then Colbert holds up a map. It's like, well, you guys did it. How do the parties get away with just being so hypocritical? Like, it's like a lack of self-awareness. And both sides.
There's a saying, in matters of life and death, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
So going back to his point about, he's like, well, look at all the controversy with Trump. It's like, well, that's also your media manufacturing that controversy. How much of that is real? That becomes the question. It's like, well, look at how much, yes, your media is talking about him all day long. You're watching the media all day long. They're selling their reverse mortgages between commercial breaks, just like they're supposed to do. Like, the system is working as designed, right? I mean, I use the example of during Trump's first term, the word Russia never came off the screen on CNN for 4 years, right? I mean, so literally at any point you can turn on CNN and the word Russia was somewhere on the screen. And that's what was ingrained in people.
Okay, so Chuck, Mr. Matlock, who did that Steele dossier? Matlock, come and address these issues. Tell me about it, Mr. Matlock. You seem to have all the answers. And you seem to care about this country because you played that veteran card every phone call. And I'm so sick and tired of hearing it because you sat on the sidelines while our real veterans were pushed away for your illegals and your votes. Address that, Matlock.
So here becomes the question. At some point, whether the president is negotiating peace with Russia and Ukraine or, again, like when Elon came in and tried to correct deficiencies in our budgeting system, at some point you need to get people like Ron Matlock on board to fix the system. If half the people are on board and half the people are saying, so Elon is stealing my social security number, you're never going to fix the problem. And again, as somebody on the outside, I just keep saying, what is it going to take for the two sides to come together to say, okay, this problem needs to be addressed, kind of like the sinking ship analogy, like come together and figure out how to plug the hole. But instead, both sides are saying, well, it's his fault there's a hole. It's like, it doesn't matter at this point, guys. We need to plug the hole or we're all sinking. What is it going to take to fix that?
Well, Bob, let me draw you into the conversation.
I'm here for it.
Okay, did you ever sit across from somebody in a one-on-one conversation and finally just say to yourself and to them, you're just stupid. We're not making any gains here.
Just be careful how
you're bringing up have no validity.
Are you looking for a rhetorical yes or specific instances where I have told people?
So we were at this council meeting 2 weeks ago,
yes,
and
but no, I know where you're going with it. I get it.
Bob, does it not happen?
Oh, it does.
Well, not even just saying you're stupid. I mean, I say to people all the time, I say, look, we are living in different realities. Like, you have a reality, I have a reality, and we are so far apart. I mean, I tell people, like, we argue on social media. It's like, look, I'm not going to waste my time because we are so far apart in reality. There is no, like, common ground here. I mean, they may be smart, they may be stupid.
Which the biggest tripping block on that is there's only one reality.
Right. But it's your reality in your mind,
and
though.
some folks some folks in their mind just live on this completely different plane of existence. And you're right. Well, occasionally when I've let my temper get the best of me, I'll say, "You're stupid. This conversation's over." But a lot of times it's just, sometimes you have to be smart enough to know when the conversation is over and say, "Thanks for your time."
Did you guys see there was during those protests? I forget if it was one of the Elon protests or whatever. And I saw the clip the other day.
Are you talking about one of the goofy ones up
here?
Well,
I'm talking about it was somewhere else. And the reporter interviewed this older woman who was crying the entire time, saying Trump's taking everything, he's destroying everything, and the reporter just kept saying, "Can you give me an example?" And she's like, "Well, just look around, everything."
On one of her cue cards.
And they just kept saying, "Can you give me?" And she's sobbing, saying Trump is destroying everything. I was like, "Can you give me one example of that?" And she just kept sobbing and couldn't even give an answer because her reality was this, Trump is taking like, can you calm down and give us an example that we can discuss, a jumping off point. And she couldn't do it.
If there is something real out there, if we're talking about reality and things are going, TDS is real, is absolutely real, and that's Trump derangement syndrome. Because there is a lot of that. People are just mad for, I don't know, he's just...
Right, but then how do you, if I wanted to sit down with that person over dinner and say, okay...
but that's not what they're going for. That's not
but that's my point.
They don't want to be
But that's the need
educated
right now. But the need right now is for the two sides to come together and go, look, we're not going to agree on everything. It's kind of like what's happening with the Ukraine-Russia thing. Like, look, nobody is going to agree on there's not going to be a perfect solution, but there is a solution that stops the killing, right? I mean, nobody's going to be happy. There's going to be concessions, just like any other negotiation. There's going to be concessions. Nobody's going to leave perfectly happy, but the killing will stop, and that's the goal.
Did we lose our caller?
No,
oh, no, there you are.
Go ahead.
Sorry about that. We kind of went off on our own thing there. Sorry.
No. So the next time Matlock calls in, ask him about Schumer, Schiff, Pelosi, the Steele dossier, Comey. Ask him this simple question as he wants to play that veteran card one more time. Could the money that we have spent on illegals and continue to spend on illegals with the open border that Biden allowed, could that money have been spent on our veterans? Yes or no, Mr. Matlock, you clown.
Okay, that's perfect. That's a good stopping point. I appreciate the call. But again, my point earlier about even the Cold War, could that money have been better spent, served building infrastructure and helping veterans and moving us forward as a country? Or even the example of every Memorial Day, every Veterans Day, there are libertarian veterans that say, hey, if you want to help the veterans, stop making more of them. Like that's your solution. Stop making more. Stop sending people places where they come back and need those. Let's just stop creating more veterans that need these services, and then you will have more resources. So it seems simple on the surface, but for some reason we don't want to do that. Let's take another caller. Good morning, caller.
Actually.
What do you want to do?
I was just wondering if we were doing...
I dumped all the calls.
No, it's just, I don't know if we were doing mulligans or not. There's I don't get the names, but it's 50-50. It's Matlock, so I didn't know if we were doing the internet beef or...
TikTok battles or whatever?
Yeah.
We should have them do just like, I don't know, rap battles or something. Have two people call in and...
Have you ever seen on YouTube the old, rap battles, of history? And it would be like...
I worry when folks of your generation say, have you seen the old? And I'm like,
do you remember?
Dude, that's still popular, right?
Definitely not popular.
Do you guys remember those 20th century rap battles? Yeah, we were there. No, we were there. We were,
I used to love those. All right.
Okay, go ahead.
Love those.
Take a call.
Would you play them at daycare?
I used to.
I was in probably 5th grade when those were popular.
Okay.
What year were you born?
2003.
Go ahead.
So you don't even know about Building 7.
So don't start. No, don't start. I don't want an article. Go ahead. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Just out of curiosity, how would the producer have any idea who's calling in?
Don't ruin that secret. Don't tell people that.
You guys don't have any secrets. You barely got technology.
We're on the air. That's all I care about at this point.
Yeah. First of all, I agree with that last call wholeheartedly.
Hey, did you go to a
Number
concert?
one.
Were you screaming at the baseball game or something? What happened? You're losing your voice.
I don't know. I was at the air show. I was here and there, whatever. But
jet fumes.
Regarding these Democrats, they just say whatever they want, and the media never challenges them. And one of the guys in the media is D-Lo. He doesn't challenge anybody who comes into that studio who's a Democrat. They're never questioned. Nobody ever asked Adam Schiff, hey, where's the proof? Oh, it's coming. We did that for 4 years, and now the guy's caught because they've got the documents on the guy. His own staff was told to lie. And don't worry about it, we'll never get caught. And now you got the former director of the FBI quoting Taylor Swift. That's Matlock's hero. That's how dumb he is. Oh, by the way, could I make sure that sometime before this year's over, Matlock, can you bring the terrorism proof against me that you and Burley accused me of? Can I get that videotape? Matt Racklock, whatever your watermelon selling name is.
Okay. So,
because I've had enough of him too.
So can I? Okay, here I'm going to push back on you as well.
Hey, and wait, one more thing with you, Chuck. Do you actually think we don't need to send our military somewhere because we're going to go, hey, let's just put a rose in the end of the rifle? I know that you jihadist Muslims want to blow up everybody on planet Earth, but can you not do that? Because we don't want to send a soldier over there. They understand nothing but brute force. Now, I don't understand why when the Jews went and knocked Iran back into the 15th century, and then we knocked their nuclear program.
You spent $200 million blowing up a mountain, right? Yeah, I remember that.
I do not understand why these cowards in Europe, in France, Britain, and Poland. Last time I checked, you got some jets over there. Fuel them up, put your boys in there, and wipe out the front line of Russia. And then tell them you got 24 hours to get your vodka-drinking asses back on the other side of that line, like what happened when Donald Trump was in office, and get this over with. This is ridiculous.
So you want the French to bomb the Russians, but I saw a funny meme the other day, and this is what it reminds me of, is there's a guy from Germany. He says, just to be clear, you want the Germans to arm up and go into Russia, just so there's no misunderstandings here. You want us to build up an army and head east. Like, I just want to make sure.
The best one was that there was some excitement because of global warming. Russia's not as cold as it used to be.
But
too soon?
Oh, okay. So
why am I spending my veterans' money to defend a country that's on the other side of the ocean when the Poles don't want to put up they don't want to put up a piece of sauerkraut to defend their own place?
Why am I blowing up a mountain in Iran? Why don't they, why did I spend $200 million blowing up a mountain? The same question. But I mean, this becomes the argument is there a way to work this out? I mean, and again, I know your opinion on, the Middle East and whatever. I get that. Would we be better served? Again, going back to this idea that, how dare Trump sit down with Putin? Like, well, how else do you plan to work this out? Like, sometimes you need to sit down with somebody you don't like to work things out. So this idea that can we try to just kind of, bygones be bygones with Russia so that you can focus on the other issues? And that becomes the question, is half this country is going, how dare Trump sit down with Putin? And then today he's going to sit down with Zelensky. And so that's the whole thing. It's like, the majority of this country can't agree on what the solution is. So how are we going to come to one?
Chuck, what have you got out of Putin so far? What did Joe Biden? Joe Biden said, well, if he goes over to Ukraine, just a little bit. I mean, listen, just when your kid throws a baseball through the window, and then he stands there and you go, son, did you throw the ball through the window? And the ball's on the dining room table, and there's glass on the floor, and the kid says, no, I didn't do that, Dad. You slap him in the back of the head, and you go, you want to think about that again? After a while, it's over, Chuck. You listen. You crazy? Whatever party you're in with the overalls and your sandals and your
John
I'm gonna bring
Club.
Don up here someday. I'm gonna tell him to dress like Farmer Joe and just come on airways with Mad Men.
Just step to the side, let the men lead. We'll take care of it and get this over with. And the reason, when Donald Trump left office the first time, there was peace in the Middle East. And then you put your Democrats back in there, and how'd that work out? Now, we just took care of them, and there's back to being almost peaceful in the Middle East. So all you Democratic cowards, particularly, hey, look at Chuck, you know that Sabrina Hawk girl up in Miller Beach? Living up there with all her lily white people, no black people around, everything's safe, except when they get 15 feet off the beach, right? Now they're all complaining about Donald Trump. My God, you brought some... The people of Washington, D.C. can't be more grateful that they haven't heard multiple gunshots going down at the local Burger King. You need men to run a country.
Okay, I appreciate
no DEI, no guys from Rensselaer wearing shirts with T-shirts. Just leave it to the men, all right?
Okay, I appreciate the call. Do we have one more before the break? Let's take two. Well,
now the folks from Rensselaer are calling in.
Now we've got overall people. I didn't say it. He said it. Okay, let's power through these calls real quick. Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You know, gentlemen, the problem is with talk radio, a lot of people want to go back and forth. Would you ask that caller this and that and the other? As a person who's listened to this program and has participated in national programs as well, and Walt could back me up on this, the problem is there's a lot of intellectual dishonesty on radio.
Everywhere, though, not just radio, everywhere. That's the problem. That's what we've been talking about.
Yeah, in addition, but see, on radio, you only have a few minutes to make your point, and if you get sidetracked on something you never said, you're... Case in point, Chuck Pullen, I'll make up a scenario. Chuck Pullen says government spends too much, right?
That's a fair statement.
But let's just say a hypothetical host could say, Chuck Pullen said a single mom should be kicked off of Medicare. You never said that.
Right.
But then the conversation becomes all-encompassing on something you never said.
No, agreed. I mean, that's what they did to Elon. Elon's trying to find out where the money's going. They go, you're trying to steal school lunch programs and kill old people. Like, no, I'm just trying to find out where the money's going. Agreed.
And let me fast forward. Comment was made by yours truly. I made up the point. When do you, as a station, when is it appropriate to discuss an issue that's in the paper already? In the paper, no lawsuit. I'm talking about it's in the paper. So I'm not talking about, well, we're going to get sued. Hang up. Person comes on the airways, speaks to Mr. Dabber and says, well, Julian Colby says that's why you shouldn't talk in rumors. I wasn't speaking of a rumor. I'm speaking specifically, there have been issues locally where local officials have got caught doing certain situations.
We all agree, yep.
Where it was tried to be brought up on these airways, and it gets sidetracked to, I don't want to get sued. Again, I'm specifically talking about issues that are in the paper, or, more importantly, the wife of a mayor specifically on social media stated specifically where their children go to school. But that particular area is outside of their city. And I'm not talking about Catholic school. It used to be, especially in Northern Lake County, these people would whine and talk about outsiders and what are outsiders doing and where is this superintendent? Where does this superintendent live? This superintendent's not sending their children to quote-unquote our schools. But when a certain highly elected official in a certain city or town is sending their children to a school system out of their city or town, and I'm not talking about Catholic or private school, now it's okay. Another case in point, people in certain cities used to always rail on NIPSCO. NIPSCO's horrible. People in a certain city used to call one of the state reps NIPSCO Charlie. Now, you're in love with NIPSCO. So my point is, it's the hypocrisy of a lot of talk radio. And again, it has nothing to do with, because Republicans do it too, Chuck. You voted with your feet, right? When you were in Munster, correct me if I'm wrong, weren't all the people on the elected positions, weren't they all Republicans?
They were.
So,
and again, that doesn't mean, I mean, that's your point. Your point is it doesn't mean anything. Before you say anything, hang on real quick, it is 8:02 in the region. You're listening to AM 1230, 104.7 FM in beautiful Hammond, Indiana.
Right.
Carry on, sir.
So my point is, so the people are going to the race and the class and all that nonsense. I'm not talking about that. But to Mr. Starkey's point, talking about South County's growing. I think people are going to just vote with their feet. They're not going to call and complain. They're not going to whine. They like a certain, live around a certain demographic or a certain class of people or a certain income of people. They're going to just move, and that's what it's going to be. And those committees, like my buddy Kuziak says, and people beat him up, all he says is all you got to do is drive south on Broadway, keep driving south, and you'll see what you see. Drive to the St. John's, drive to the
Crown
Sheriff.
Points, yeah.
It is what it is. But you have people that refuse facts. That's the problem with, I'm sorry, even including this station, because I could bring up issues where I brought up money. People would just deny it. I told Mayor Tom McDermott Jr. from Hammond prior to the 2010 census on these airways, I'm looking at numbers, Tom. I'm looking at numbers. You're going to surpass Gary. Right. No, I think maybe the next one. Sure enough, what happened? Surpassed. Sure. I brought up on these airways, the school system in Gary, based on these numbers, it's not going to last. I talked to your buddy, Ken Davidson, on this station. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. What happens? DUAB, then everybody's whining. On these very stations, before you guys were probably out of high school, I talked to
I was here for that whole discussion. I was here when that happened with Ken. I brought him on the airwaves.
Right. But this situation, I'm saying, prior to the default of LTV, I was on this station talking to a host by the name of Greg Dolphin. I said, Greg, these numbers at LTV are not going to last. You know, one of the so-called highly educated labor dudes said in the paper, somebody else will buy it.
Right, everything will work out. Right. No, I get you. Well, hey, I do need to take one more call before we go to break. Joe's going to yell at me, so I appreciate it. So, I mean, again, he's talking about the same thing that we always talk about, is just sort of this hypocrisy. And I think at the end of the day, that's what I always try to do, is I try to come on these airwaves and go, look, I'm going to talk about things that I see affecting me because I think it's affecting you guys. But to his point, though, is like I want to keep this station sort of democratic. Anybody can call in, so nobody can say, well, my voice isn't represented on the. You pick up the phone. Tell your friends to pick up the phone. Anybody's voice can be represented on these airways at any time, and we try to, for the most part, let people talk. But okay, good. You have any thoughts?
No, I'm good to go.
Okay, why don't we? Do you want to take a break? Okay, let's take that break because we're running late. We're going to get yelled at. So we'll be back with another segment here on Summer of Chuck 2, the Electric Boogaloo on WJOB. Hey, it's 8:08 in the region. Chuck Pullen, Bob Starkey, Joe in the producer's booth. We're taking calls. I mean, again, we're taking anybody's calls. You want to talk about something, whatever. We're here. I mean, that's the whole point of this. Is I'm not going to come in here and preach. I'm not going to tell you what to think, how to think. I want to have a discussion with you. I want to hear what's on your mind. So let's take another caller. Good morning, caller in the air. Good morning.
Yeah, your connection's really bad. But,
yeah.
You know, when you hear people bashing Trump trying to get this war thing solved.
Yeah.
Does anybody ever think of the N-word?
What's that?
Nuclear.
Right. Well, that's what like when Mad Mac was talking about that, I was thinking that it's like, if your neighbor has nuclear weapons, I don't want my son if my son breaks their window, I'm going to be very apologetic, right? I mean, that's the thing is, going back to my point earlier, is we've spent trillions of dollars. The Russians have spent untold, sums of money, basically bankrupting their nation. We've spent all of this money, and thankfully it never got used. But I mean, we had thousands of ICBMs, under farm fields in Iowa and stuff like that. Like the amount of money we spent on a boogeyman that may or may not have existed when we probably could have or should have negotiated in the first place. And I don't want another generation to go through that. What's the harm in trying to negotiate?
I don't know, and I don't get it. I mean, do these people that are against this negotiating, if some idiot pressed a button and a nuclear bomb went off and you lost power, say in the middle of January, what would you do?
Have you ever watched any of those videos or read about all the close calls on both sides? I mean, malfunctions of if you remember that movie War Games, that malfunction actually did happen on more than one occasion. I mean, the
amount of times we were 2 minutes away from some error
because
launch.
one guy is like, hang on a second, I'm not going to push this button until I make some phone calls. We were that close several times in the last 50 years, right? I mean, that's the thing is like eventually your luck's going to run out. I mean, that's my whole point is eventually something's going to happen and our luck's going to run out and we're going to destroy this entire planet over, a misunderstanding or an errant computer program.
Yeah, exactly. And, these idiots that don't realize that you got a nuclear power that is in a war over there, okay? And guess what? We're a target, and what would you do if you couldn't walk into Stratton Van Tills and buy your groceries every day or pull into McDonald's and grab a cheeseburger or flip your furnace on? What would you do? Most people, they probably couldn't do nothing.
Right.
They probably couldn't catch a fish. They probably couldn't start a fire. They probably couldn't go kill an animal and clean it and eat it themselves. These people are just
But,
foolish.
I mean, don't even look at it as a nuclear war. I mean, the new war is going to be...
The sheer panic of COVID when they said, we're just going to shut everything down. In 24 hours, the world ran out of toilet paper and produce.
But look, you're not even looking at like this, mushroom cloud over major cities. You're talking about, EMP. You're talking about cyber attacks. I mean, most even talking about the drone warfare. Most of it is going. If there was another conflict, it's going to be mostly technical. It's going to be attacking infrastructure. It's going to be, if you go back to like was it the Stuxnet virus? I mean, literally, we designed a virus to attack centrifuges in Iran. I mean, and then the thing got loose. So that's the whole thing. To your point, like it doesn't need to be a nuclear mushroom cloud. There's a lot of things that people can do to seriously mess with our infrastructure. And at the end of the day, I would rather say let's work this out. What is the harm in having these meetings? What is the harm of Trump walking across the DMZ in North Korea? Like, what is the harm in trying to, negotiate this stuff? But like I said in the media is all saying, oh, the meetings were a failure. All this stuff. It's like, let the man negotiate for your children and grandchildren's sake. Let's try to negotiate something here.
Yeah, no, I mean, people just don't think of consequences and stuff, and it frustrates the hell out of me,
No, I agree. Well, this goes back to I started the very beginning of the show. I talked about people that don't pay for their own gas, that speed through traffic to speed to stop at a red light. I think those are the same people. I think they're the same people that don't have that. They're first order thinkers that don't think about the consequences. I mean, I don't think the average, even people my age that. We didn't have, like we were talking earlier about people that lived through the Cold War and hid under their desks and learned first aid and, had to learn about the fallout shelters. A lot of people don't understand, like, how serious this is. And it's frustrating to me that, here's a guy who's trying to negotiate something and we're attacking him for it. So,
one other thing. Hey, Chuck, I got a question. Hey, have you ever heard of Roger Stone?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched his house get raided live on TV.
How about Steve Bannon, Peter Navarro, Alex Jones? You ever hear of them people?
Yeah, I've been following. Yeah, we talk about Alex quite a bit.
So maybe when someone calls your radio show and starts harping on you about political prosecutions, maybe why don't you just inform them a little bit?
Can I tell you? I was about to say to him. I said, I saw Alex Jones get run through a kangaroo court, basically owes $2 billion or whatever it is, $1 billion, having his entire empire stolen because of something one of his contributors did. So yeah, I am a little cautious about saying things on these airwaves because I saw Alex Jones get run through the ringer and, had $1 billion judgment against him. So yeah, I am a little hesitant to say things on the radio these days. To be honest,
especially Alex Jones, the First Amendment, freedom of speech. Yeah.
Well, there's a weird irony. I was noticing this the other day that all these people on social media, like there was this post the other day that said, Trump didn't get shot, Elon didn't rescue the astronauts. I forget all their. It's like you're the same people that criticized Alex Jones for 20 years, and now you're sitting here saying that Trump dumped a ketchup packet on his ear and faked the shooting, right? I mean, it's a yin and yang thing. It's kind of just ironic that the same people that were criticizing Alex Jones are now going off the deep end telling me that, everything Elon Musk is doing is like on a green screen or something. And I guess space doesn't exist. But haven't you, Bob, you were there, didn't you see, for somebody who was in Florida and watched one of the rockets land?
I did. That was one of the.
You sure it wasn't a giant blue screen? Like the entire.
the entire ocean
was
blue screen. No, I mean, we were right on the edge of the earth because it is flat after all.
Right.
But. No, we saw one of these SpaceX, the Falcon 9, I think, was on the landing pad.
So again, there's people that tell you that's fake. It's like
I saw it. Yeah, I saw it with my own eyes.
But anyway, I do. I definitely. I mean, we were on these airwaves when the Alex Jones thing went through. I said, look, I mean, it really gives you pause as somebody who comes on a public forum like this. Like you say one wrong thing, or even God forbid, Mad Max says something. And again, that's why Jim is spinning this off, because we live in a world where some guy can call in and say something, and now Jim's getting sued for $1 million. So.
Well, and there's a lot of truth to that. One of the things, if we're just being honest about this, is when I came on here, there was a handful of folks who said, you're elected. You
be careful,
watch
right.
what you say.
Yeah.
Be careful. You say things like the Earth is flat or Building 7. Next thing you know, it's going to be on a postcard against you. But there's there's context to it. I do believe in the world of politics. If you're explaining, you're losing. Unfortunately, that's just how it goes. But yeah, you do have to kind of watch what you say.
Okay. Anything else?
Hey, Bob. Yeah. Hey, Bob.
Yeah, what you got?
If we can afford a $14 million pavilion to play some guitars, don't give us an income tax raise, buddy. I'm just letting you know.
Okay,
$14 million, man. The $14 million, I think that was the St. John one.
Okay, so he segued. I think they called you Rob Starkey last week. So I don't know if that was the cousin that raises the taxes.
Yeah.
So this becomes a question.
And the difference is we're paying cash for ours.
Well, yeah. Good for you. So this becomes an interesting question. Obviously, I grew up in Dyer. I lived in Munster. I live in St. John. We lived in the border communities. I met a lot of neighbors that all came from Illinois. And I always said they didn't move from Matson because of the weather. They moved because of low taxes. And again, not a critique of you or anybody else particularly, but it seems like we're trying our damnedest to not have those low taxes, which is attracting the people, which is causing the South County to grow. And so this becomes a question I would ask you, or even, like you said, Mike, we're building an amphitheater as well. I question the wisdom of it, but I'd also like to see what we're planning, because I do know that a place like St. John, we do need a place for people to congregate. So it's kind of like one of those things, like, look, it's a lot of money, but also when your community is growing, you need a place to put people to have events, so we're not spilling out onto whatever. We're borrowing people's parking lots to have events, so there's a discussion there. But when and I'll even go back to our friend Rob Kendall down in Brownsburg. They're talking about, like, for instance, his community is talking about building a $100 million natatorium. They asked for feedback, and a couple dozen people wrote in yay or nay for it. How do you, as a town leader, decide to make these big investments?
Slowly.
Okay.
Slowly. I'm a fan of teasing some of our neighboring communities.
I noticed.
So I will jest with St. John occasionally. I think Munster has their amphitheater. I think that's woefully underused. When
I don't even know where it is. Which one?
The one in Centennial.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. Okay. I thought that sank. Never mind.
No, that was the other building in
okay.
there. We look at what we wanted to bring to Dyer, and I guess I'll put this hat on here. And Dyer never really had a downtown area.
Sure.
We weren't a Crown Point or Griffith with a square, and so 15, 20 years ago, they decided to purchase that plot of land where Central Park is now, named it Central Park with the idea that at someday, when we had the money, we could start doing things there and make it a central hub of community gathering. We put the ball fields in once we got that done and paid that off. We started having our Summerfest there and having more activities there. The next logical step was, when we had the money, we weren't going to bond it out as soon as the last brick is down. The intention is not to leave a bill for future councils, future
Great
generations.
Philosophy.
And so we saved up the money for that using TIF dollars, which I think is
there goes the eyes twitching.
An entirely different topic and conversation there. But to have the money to build this out for not only the residents of Dyer specifically, but then also to be able to use an event center to.
One of the dirty little secrets about local government is that. Is it fair to say that there are a lot of, let's say, outsiders, consultants, for instance, that come and try to pitch ideas, and they use these words like quality of life and all this stuff?
There are a ton of buzzwords, and I can say with this specifically, we did not have any of those. Quite often, they do knock on the door and say, hey, we've got these fantastic ideas of things that have worked in Fishers and Carmel.
and
we
North
have to remind
Haverbrook.
Them, yeah, and we have to
this
remind
monorail
them
worked great.
that we are not one of those communities. So what we do is we tend to use our and I'll tout it that Dyer, other communities, if you want to be run well, try this too. Use your own eyes and ears. find folks that have been in the community forever, that know what the community is looking for, and go out and find something that you think will work. We did that. We went over to Fox Point. We thought, hey, this is a pretty nice amenity. We think we can build something to a dire scale that we can afford. And we found the architect that did that and said, hey, let's work with them. So we were the ones seeking input rather than folks knocking on our door saying, hey, this worked in
Ogdenville, North Haverbrook.
Yes.
Okay, so that's
but I
a good
will
answer,
say
though.
what I have heard, I do always enjoy hearing the rumors of things like cost and price and these things, because I will probably be one of the first to know when these go. $14 million would be shocking, a shocking number. I think we're looking under 10.
Good. Good price.
We recently, I believe the bids are out now, so maybe even by next Monday I'll be able to tell you.
Okay.
I don't know what the bids.
Okay, so here becomes the other question that I have. Again, theoretical. So, for instance, we're all part of the Tri-Town. Is there ever been a discussion or an attempt to have a shared facility where we said, look, what if everybody kicked in $10 million and picked a central location, off of 30 in Cherville or Dyer or something like that, and had a shared facility?
I think we did that with the Tri-Town Safety Village.
Yeah.
We thought there is and I mean, this thing is 20 plus years old, and I was not the creator of that at all. In full disclosure, I'm currently the vice president of the Tri-Town board. But that was something that I think at the heart of it was we could teach children about fire safety, police safety, rail safety. But every community does not need a Tri-Town Safety Village.
Right.
And so I think that works on the extent of not every community needs one, but some communities are just looking for different things.
Well, and that becomes a question, though. It's like, let's say, again, theoretical. Dyer builds an amphitheater. Cherville builds an auditorium, and St. John builds something different. That's kind of like, okay, shared resources. Instead of building 3 of them, we have 1. Again, it's like, I don't know in practice if that works or not. But again, to me, it's like, okay, again, going back to the amphitheater, we only get to use it, 3 or 4 months out of the year. So does it make sense to spend that much money? Or does it make sense for all of us to each have one? I mean, that's always kind of the discussion I have.
And I think it depends on what you're looking to do as a community.
Right.
If you are looking to host, team up with, hometown jams, and have those types of large scale concerts, some communities may not be looking in for that. We're hoping to maybe get some of that, maybe get some of the our architect worked with the Northwest Indiana Symphony, for example.
Sure.
In our estimation, that's as big as we ever would care to have. So we didn't want to undersize it. We didn't want to oversize it. We wanted to right size it, which is a stupid buzzword, but there's some truth to that. As we want to say, we don't intend to go bigger than the Northwest Indiana Symphony.
Perfect.
And we one of the things we heard a lot is folks like the idea of they're often at Crown Point. Mm-hmm. And so, can we get something like that in our community? So not only is it just for the music, but it's for the arts. We have several schools in town, both public and private, to use those for summer plays and gatherings. Our focus is to market it as broadly as possible. Really and you're right, I'd give it a few more months than just 3 to 4 months out of the year.
It depends on, how cold you want to be. But it's a gamble, though. It's a gamble when you start having events in May.
It is.
Could snow.
It is. One of the things we learned with Fox Point is they have a pretty large pavilion out at Fox Point where folks can say, we're doing something similar with our event center, but rather than have it just open air, think of Journeyman's Distilleries where the walls will roll up.
Yeah.
That way we can get more use out of some of these facilities. Learning from what other folks have done. But I will agree, there's an entire class of grifters out there that will knock on your door and sell you
that monorail
that worked in
some
other place.
Let's commit a felony before we go.
Oh, okay.
So good. Joe's not listening, so we can go ahead and do this. So
Joe's not listening. Look at him over there.
Okay,
He's
so I came in this morning. There's a piece of mail here to the Deedlows. It says too dangerous to ignore, and it's a picture of Trump, Vance, and RFK. And I flipped it over. Oh, it's from Planned Parenthood. Okay.
Oh, look at that.
So let's go ahead. I'm going to open it live here on the air. Let's see what it says here.
This is not a political commentary, but I'm just wondering. I didn't think they had money to the postage.
No, well, it says I won't ignore this. So it's this. So I support abortion rights. I won't ignore this. Send us $100. I'm curious what the threat is. So Supreme Court allows attacks on patients' rights in Planned Parenthood. Dear friend, this threat is too dangerous. Donald Trump and the anti-reproductive rights majorities in Congress are determined to use their power to attack our health and rights. The danger of a national abortion ban is real, and the time to fight is now. Without the powerful backing of Planned Parenthood supporters, we won't be able to defeat the attacks on the fundamental freedom that is crucial to millions of people's health, lives, and future. So basically, Planned Parenthood is asking for money to stop Donald Trump.
They also appear to have several different placards that you can send to various representatives.
Frank Mervan, Jim Banks, and Todd Young.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe if you want to, we can mail that to them. I'm sure they'll read that. Okay, so here. So again, this becomes an interesting. I used to talk about. It was funny because I signed up. I don't know why I signed up for all these text messages. So like I get messages from Trump and Pelosi and all these people, and it's always funny. I'm pretty sure they all use the same people, right? So basically, what happens is like on a Saturday,
the grifter class,
the boogeyman grifter class. So on one Saturday, I get a message from Trump going, "Hey, give me $20 to stop Pelosi," and then 3 minutes later, I get a message from Pelosi saying, "Give me $20 to stop Trump," all coming from the same place. This is kind of the same idea because I'm sure the pro-life people are sending out the same thing, asking for $100 to help preserve rights. So this becomes an argument. It's like not only are you getting it in the media, you're getting it in the mail. You don't ignore Donald Trump. He's going to take away your rights. And I was talking about within minutes of you mentioned that truth that Trump said he was going to reform the voting system. Within 3 minutes, HuffPost had an article saying Donald Trump is going to take away the women's right to vote. Within 3 minutes of that post. So, I mean, again...
I'm hoping HuffPo, because clearly the news was broken here on WJOB.
They might be listening.
Summer of Chuck 2, Electric Boogaloo. We broke the news from President Donald Trump, who truthed to my telephonic mobile device that he was...
Yes, and so within 3 minutes, HuffPo said, reforming the voting system is a dog whistle that Donald Trump is going to take away women's right to vote. So
everything's a dog whistle.
I don't know how you navigate that system. I don't know how, as a society, we don't all go crazy just seeing these things in our mailbox and in our newspaper. I mean, I don't know how we manage. But
well, and I think over time you start to see that's why some of these legacy media folks are starting to close their doors.
The Colberts. You can only lose $40 million for so long.
There's only so many times I can hear that a peanut butter and jelly is racist before it's like, well, I hide that.
Is it the whole sandwich or just the crust? I thought the crust was racist. Or cutting it was, I forget what part of it was.
Oh,
or was it the jelly that, I forget. But jelly. Part of it's racist.
I do like a good diagonal cut on a sandwich,
I see that. That's a dog whistle right there. Okay,
yeah,
so it is 8:30. We got to go. But so here's our announcement. It looks like we have been extended. Our contract negotiations have been successful.
Well, to be honest, we met with Jim in Alaska.
As a B-2 bomber flew overhead.
As a B-2 bomber flew, and we said, Jed, this is not acceptable to end the Summer of Chuck 2, the Electric Boogaloo.
Again, to be fair, we met in Munster as a Cessna flew overhead from the Lansing airport. So we are going to be extending our show to be determined, but we will be on. Basically, we're going to be sharing time with Jed. We'll probably do like every other week. So Jed will be on for a week. We'll be on for a week. So that's the plan. So we're going to move forward. Again, I appreciate Bob. You've stepped up. You've been a great co-host. We've been doing. Everybody's been complimenting your work, Joe's work. Everybody seems to be enjoying it. and we've not been sued as of yet.
The day is young,
The day
but
is
let's
young.
give the people what they want, and that's more of Chuck and Bob.
More of you though, more of your calls, more of the stuff that you guys want to talk about.
And we promise that Joe will stop filtering the calls.
Yes, no, yeah, that Joe is the biggest problem on Mondays. I think.
That's what I'm hearing.
Oh, is he listening yet? No, he's too busy.
No, he's still not.
Okay,
listening.
do you want to go? Should we go?
I'm
okay,
ready.
so Joe's ready to go. Okay, so thanks for tuning in to the Summer of Chuck 2, the Electric Boogaloo, soon to be the Fall of Chuck 2. And I know Bob's working on some amazing graphics to go with it.
Graphics, music, and perhaps a little musical number with
just
some
a
song
whole
and dance.
brand centered around the Fall of Chuck. So
Yep.
now that the felony has been committed, we can go. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you next week.